Can't speak of the truth when it's tainted. I fell into a big black hole. It got me stone cold. Wizard of Oz can't undo what I've done. Completely out of luck this time. I'm stuck in reverse. I gotta get away now, but I can't seem to take the lead. Oh baby, how could I know there was no second chances? Like dominoes, my life got really scattered. Still, I find myself hoping that you'll find your way back to me. 'Cause I've been stone cold since you left me here. So come home, why won't you reappear? Things that I said came out totally wrong. Can't speak of the truth when it's tainted. I fell into a big black hole. It got me stone cold.
NA Mike, ladies and gentlemen. NA Mike, I believe. Is he good? Oh, okay, well, we'll get that sorted out. Either way, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Badass University All-Stars. This marks the start of week number 7, and we all know what that means. The competition is starting to get really, really tight, and the lust for points in these last 3 play weeks is at an all-time high. The competition, as I said, is super duper tight. A lot of these teams cannot simply be differentiated anymore because they are just that close-knit in terms of raw points, and everybody naturally wants to hit that top 4 mark. As always, my name is Tudors. Alongside me, I've got McCready, who I believe has swapped over back to an EU mic, so he should be good to go.
Yeah, well, you know, production quality for NA doesn't always match up. But, well, we had a little argument about who's going to bring us in, and it seems like I won it. So here we go, Tudors. Yes, it's been a very exciting weekend, but we're not really done. The EUCL qualifiers are done. Makers, they've qualified for EUCL as well as the Invitational. But, well, that's not the important part, is it? We've got the Bool Playdays coming up, and we've got a huge potential in these 3 games today. Potential for dominant games, but also some incredible underdog stories. Now, let's bring up the schedule in front of you. So you know exactly what you're seeing. You might have seen it on Twitter. You might have known what it was going to be. But the upcoming games today, first of all, the Princesses will be taking on the Minutemen. Minutemen are currently at the bottom of that leaderboard, looking to put a win, maybe a couple of rounds on the board. And, well, simply put, if you turn around today and you say, well, it's time to kill the Princesses, well, that's a really good stand moving forward and trying to push yourself up. I don't think you're able to qualify for the playoffs at the moment. There might still be that chance, but something's got to change, and it's got to be today.
Yeah, that is entirely true. And our second matchup of the evening is going to be Coconut Cracked going up against Lockdown Ludens, which is bound to be also a really, really interesting matchup, despite the fact that Lockdown Ludens are moving into that particular best of 1 as the clear favorites, since Coconut Cracked are relatively deep at the bottom of the barrel. They have been able to put up some stellar performances here and there throughout the vast majority of the season, more often than not actually pushing a lot of those best of 1s all the way to the last round of regulation, but they've always struggled to close things off, and I'm almost fairly certain that history is going to repeat itself once again. So Lockdown Ludens, they're going to be moving into that particular matchup extraordinarily confident. To wrap things off for the evening, we've got Team Triton going up against Chimp Hunters, and I've got a tingling sensation that that is going to be the matchup for this evening.
Yeah, I mean, I'm personally going to lean towards Team Triton on this one, purely because they've just looked a little bit stronger. They've been a bit more prominent overall, in my opinion. But, well, like I said, there's a lot of opportunities for an upset here, and I've got to agree. If it's going to be anywhere, it's going to be in that 3rd and final game of the day. And honestly, I'm looking at this. I'm expecting good games coming out from all teams so far. Minutemen, you've got a lot to prove. This is the opportunity to do it. You don't necessarily need a win to give yourself that little bit more kind of positioning power and position.
That's true.
You can move up in that leaderboard. You can at least say, okay, when we finish the group stages, we did a lot better than a lot of people expected us to at this point. Because right now, I'm going to be brutally honest, I don't think the expectations are very high for them.
No, unfortunately there aren't, and this is a point that I'm actually going to bring up, something that I did say last week when I was casting alongside Whippet, and we did also see another one of Minutemen's matches. Effectively, they are out of the running for top 4. They simply don't have the time, and they can't scramble enough points, mathematically speaking, to work their way into the playoffs, but there is something that they can do. They actually do have a strong chance to disrupt the rest of all of the squad's agendas to make it to that top 4. Keep in mind, because of the current format that we do use, if a match gets pushed all the way to overtime, both teams are guaranteed themselves at least 1 point if they lose, and 2 if they do end up picking that dub. So if Minutemen are able to push these last couple of matches in the last 3 weeks of play that we do have to overtime, then you've effectively sort of denied your opposition a full 3 points, and that essentially means that they can only get a maximum of 2 out of a particular matchup. But thus far, Minutemen haven't even been able to actually reach that final 12th round of regulation, so it is starting to look really, really unlikely, but I do hope that they are at the least very, able to actually cause a bit of chaos, because it would spice things up, to say the least.
Yeah, you really hope, especially at this point when you're looking at the Minutemen and you're saying, well, they haven't done very well so far. Well, now, there's an opportunity to really get some highlight moments on the board. So just play for fun at this point. And this might be that switch that you needed. Maybe you were getting into your own heads a little bit, moving forward, trying to make something stick, taking it a bit too seriously. And that might be the key issue that you have. Well, like you said, though, they do have that opportunity to mess things up. A win against Princesses, well, you've got to think. Like you said, that overtime, it only gives you 2 points for a win. Princesses, looking to be the very strongest team in this competition so far, they didn't even get that strong a start. They ended up getting that overtime win in 2 points, so they had to push their way up. Meaning, they haven't been able to just secure 3 points every single time. They've been pushed to overtime, and they're in quite close contention. They're far from out of the woods yet.
Yeah, definitely so. Let's go ahead and actually pull up the standings for you guys over on stream so you guys can also see exactly what we are currently looking at, and so we can quickly dive into what this technically does mean. I am just getting confirmation that we don't have the updated standings, but that is completely fine. We do have a Wikipedia in which we can actually read some of that information off of you guys from, but it's completely fine. Princesses, they are currently leading the pack with a whopping 14 points to their name thus far, and if it's any consolation, I'm pretty sure that a lot of you guys are thinking to yourselves that Princesses, they're going to beat Minutemen outright and just claim an easy 3 points, essentially propelling themselves even further as they lead the pack to a whopping 17 points. And at that certain point, when you've already reached 17 points and there's only 2 more play weeks left after this one, then it's almost a guarantee that you do end up making playoffs. But because of the fact that Imperium of Mandem as well as Randy Ravens and Lockdown Ludens are not too far behind, you can never really feel all too safe.
Yeah, I feel like it's at the point where Princesses, they're expected to win this game. If they do, then they're, like you said, they're pretty confident that they are going to get that playoff spot. But the question's where? Because if they get that overtime point, then, well, simply put, they're only going to go up to 15 points instead of that 17. Or they're going to go up to 16 points, instead of that 17. Well, then that gives a lot of opportunities for the other teams. If you're able to beat out Princesses, go into the playoffs with that number 1 seeded spot, well, that's a great spot to be in. You get an easier ride for yourself. Maybe not that much when you think about seeding, but realistically, you're definitely putting yourself away from the Princesses. You're saving that game till later. You're going to be dealing with that 3rd or 4th place spot, and I feel like that's nothing to really shake a stick at.
No, not at all. I'm just thinking exactly where I can lead this through right now.
Dangerous, isn't it?
It is quite dangerous. Like, moving into this particular season, I still can't necessarily wrap my head around the fact that the competition is this tight. It is still mind-blowing. It's still mind-blowing to me that it could legitimately be anybody's game. It could legitimately be anybody's season at this certain point. And even as you stated, we're not out of the woods just yet. There's still 3 weeks left to go until playoffs. So I personally don't necessarily feel confident in calling exactly who can make it to that top 4, especially when you've got the likes of Team Trident and Chimp Hunters not too far behind the pack, sitting at 12 points and 10 as well. It's just baffling to me, and the one thing that I actually do want to do more than anything else is just to kind of sit back, relax, and see how the next couple of weeks do unfold. But that's not necessarily part of the job.
I mean, I've got a few things I do want to talk about. First of all,
sure.
I would like to say that it's incredible. The Bool stuff, it's been a really great time. Like, if you don't actually know what it is and you're just watching on Twitch, or if you've seen a message in your Discord and you've clicked on the link and you don't really know what you're on about, well, Bool, Badass University All-Stars, it's all about getting the best competition to play up against each other and to really get the highest quality games that you can with the university players available, where not a single team here is from the same university. They're all mixes. I think Minutemen, they're all bar one are from the Caledonian University, but that's not my point. We're getting a nice mix. We're getting a nice variation. We're seeing matchups you just don't see in normal uni league. And Tudors, one very interesting thing. We've got 2 teams in here that have decided to go that extra mile for that little bit of scrim points. Now, Team Triton, if you might remember, they went through the UCAN 2 qualifiers and just said, right, let's get some scrims down. We're going to be approaching that late stage of the group stages, so we really want to step things up. But look how Ludens also took part in the EUCL qualifiers.
Yeah, they did over the
myself
weekend.
and Newcastle. Yeah, I don't think they did very well. I think they got first rounded in a 7-1. But still, everything's valuable. You take away from that, you learn what went wrong, and I feel like really just horrible losses are where you get a lot more to work from. Obviously, it stings. It's painful when you go into that VOD review and you look at it all the ways in which you just got slapped like a wet sausage. But there's a lot to take away.
Never heard that metaphor.
Yeah, well, there you have. So that's a little something you can keep. But they're looking at that and they're simply saying, well, this is where they found weakness. They capitalized upon it. They had an aggressive push. This is why it worked. This is how it worked. Can we see a similar defense on our attack and say, let's do exactly that? Can we get that aggression? Get those key power positions? That's what I really want to see. But speaking of seeing things, I want to take a look at these map bans.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and actually put... I'm not exactly sure if the map vetoes are indeed ready for us. In case if they aren't, then we can also just move swiftly along to getting to know all of the gladiators that are going to be taking part in the arena in this particular matchup. So let's go ahead and take a look at the lineups. As we have got the Princesses, a well-known squad that is comprised of V7, Max D. We got Zodi, Mr. Joe, and So What as well. Opposite side, that's the Miniman, Age of Soul, Dumfries, Kieran, NSJ, Sauce, and Roared. I've casted Miniman quite frequently throughout this entire season thus far, to the point that they are essentially the only squad that I actually do know by heart, surprisingly enough. But
that's adorable, to be honest. Fun fact.
Yeah.
Minutemen helped me prove a wonderful point a couple of weeks ago, actually, when I was casting with Whippet. And they brought Capcan onto the board, and this was Clubhouse on bottom floor, and Whippet started laughing at it. I was like, well, okay, yeah, but there's benefits here.
Yeah.
Whippet ate his goddamn words. The Minutemen, they got a kill on that double door in bar with Capcan trap onto a sledge who hadn't even begun the vertical play. It was magnificent.
I saw the exact same thing a couple weeks back when myself and Jerry were casting the Minutemen. It was on a match of Villa, if I'm not mistaken, and they, to a certain extent, they just love bringing out the Capcan with the sausage as well, as is per usual.
If you're not playing, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. If you're not playing Capcan with that shotgun in your arms, then you're clearly playing Capcan wrong. You shouldn't even touch the Spetsnaz operator. But not only the fact that the actual sausage was the highlight of the entire series, the fact that those EEDs are something that a lot of teams don't necessarily expect, and they not only get extraordinarily softened up by taking roughly 50 to 60 points worth of damage, but sometimes they just outright die because they forget to check some of their doorways. So Minutemen, they've already made it clear that they're here for fun. They're here to just quite literally annoy the living hell out of some of their opponents, and that's something that I'm completely fine with. Totally entertaining to watch as well.
Yeah. Now, we're going to take a look at those map bans. We're going to realize exactly where we're going to see the Minutemen trying to mess with them. Chalet and Oregon, they're going to be those auto bans coming on the board, and it leaves the more standard maps over there of Clubhouse, Villa, and CAF. Clubhouse and Villa actually being taken away very quickly. Minutemen realizing they've played there quite a bit. It wasn't the best place to be. Consulate and Coastline will be taken away, and CAF is going to be on the board. Now, the big thing for me, the Princesses, do I really need to mention it? Well, I'm going to. They've got Max D, they have some incredible fragging potential on the board. A map like Coastline, you feel like they'd be able to really get aggressive, no matter what start side. Because they'd probably be on the defense. They'd probably be on the attack, let's be honest. Minutemen have that choice.
True.
The Princesses, they can get an attack, they can get a really strong attacking side in, switch to defense, just not let them inside the building. They can expect a swift victory. CAF's going to be where they're heading, though.
It is rather perplexing. I mean, obviously, the Coastline by nature and its own architecture is a much smaller map than Cafe, meaning that rounds, to a certain extent, they do actually develop and progress much faster. So the point that the fact that Princesses actually did end off the last ban and decided to move over to Cafe is really, really surprising. I personally thought that the Princesses would have just wanted to get this match over, done and dusted with as soon as possible. I'm pretty sure that they will be able to accomplish that exact same thing on Cafe, but honestly, you could have done it in record time on Coastline as well, because it's just so much smaller, and regardless as to which starting side you actually have, you can just amp up the aggression, because that it actually does give you the luxury to do that. Cafe, on the other hand, not so much. So this match is going to be a tad bit more slow-paced, but regardless, I do think that the Princesses are probably going to close this off, but obviously the Minutemen have yet to be 7-0'd, and this is a question that has been returning almost each and every single week. Who is going to be the first team to 7-0 the Minutemen? Is it going to be the Princesses tonight? I want to bet my bottom dollar and say that they might.
I'd like to play devil's advocate. I don't think that's going to happen because, well, Princesses, they're going to leave themselves at the mercy of the Minutemen. The Minutemen, they're going to choose the side that we go to, and let's be honest, Kaf Dostoyevsky, it's a map in which the momentum, the pace of the game is set by the defenders completely in their setup.
True.
If you have a good setup, you will control the flow of that round. And, well, Kapkan, they're no stranger to a Kapkan pick, and they really enjoy bringing it. Think about Kaf Dostoyevsky. There's a lot of little choke points that even just one Kapkan trap going off can do a lot of damage, but more importantly, there's a lot of little hidey holes that you can catch somebody off guard. When you think about that chop on Cigar, if you're pushing through Cocktail into the door to try and get a default plant down, well, you're going to be looking at the actual Cocktail area, not the doorway. If you think about Red Stairs, if someone's applying a lot of pressure, when you think about the bottom floor, you're going to be focusing a lot more on the actual aggression.
Yeah.
But that's not going to be the case. Jackal's going to be banned away from the Princesses, hinting at a roam game. But the big thing I want to point out, the Princesses are on defense, and Minutemen have opted for the attack.
I don't know exactly if this is, I mean, it's clear as day. Cafe has always been a relatively defender-sided matchup, or map that's technically been the historical fact for God knows how long. So, technically, this does mean that Princesses are going to be... well, I have a sneaking suspicion that they're going to be trying to get off a lot of spawn peaks, really, really aggressive plays, run-outs, even if they feel ballsy enough to do those kinds of things. So, starting off on the defense, well, the Princesses specifically, it's not necessarily all too out of the ordinary. That Nook ban is, though, and it is... Oh my goodness, what are we watching? A Cav ban as well on the side of Minutemen? Ooh, that is rough.
Ooh. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this, I'm simply saying, well, Princess, they have been able to, well...
Oh, the target ban.
That's a target ban coming out the gate. Kapkan, Kavira, Jackal, and Nock. Well, we're not going to see a default Kaf Dostoyevsky, Thatcher, Maverick, Cade, Mirror, operators all on the board that you typically see being taken away. And this is interesting. Nomad is still there. That's a big thing for me. Now, you have Jackal and you have Nomad. They both shut down Roam Game. They do the same job, but differently, in my opinion. Because you look at Nomad, it's a very passive way of doing it, right?
Yeah.
She just fire and forget, the air jab. If it goes off, don't have to worry about it. Jackal, very active roam clear, and I feel has a very powerful role on this site, especially when you need to clear that top floor. The Frostbake's going to be coming through from Zodi. That makes quite a bit of sense. They're going to be looking to just do things normally, get rotates. They don't have a smoke, and with the Frost, you can at least sit that Frost in that Cocktail area, use that long range, and take it down. Think where your Maestro or your Echo or your Docs typically go into play.
Yeah.
What I think I see is a skin being run, actually. Look, it's the Valkyrie. It looks like a...
I think that's a Cloud9 skin.
Yeah, that's
Valkyrie,
a Cloud9 skin.
Yeah, that's completely fine.
I jumped the gun a little bit too early, but we're looking at these Frost maps. They've had a huge impact in duels so far, especially on this map. The big thing I need to remind you, before I let you get onto your point, is Princesses on Oregon last week, they brought out strats that they had been preparing for quite a while. I like to think that they've got something prepared for Kaf Dostoyevsky as well.
Probably. I mean, by the looks of it, everything seems relatively standardized. We're not necessarily seeing any of those architect operators such as Mira, Aruni, or a castle being brought out, so this is basically as cut and dry as a defensive setup can be, so I might have to disagree with you on that they may have been prepping things. It might be just something that hasn't yet struck me, but we'll have to just simply wait and see, as NSJ Sauce is the first to actually enter the building. Aruni right through the gates, is going to pick up Zodi, but Max P is there to get the immediate trade. But at the very least, Minutemen already starting off very strong. They're able to shut down Zodi. A run out coming out from So What isn't going to net anything for the time being, as Dumfries is going to be taken down by Mr. Joe. Roar is the next to be decapitated on that rappel over by the white corridor. And now we have Age of Soul finally tipping the scales ever so slightly in favor of Minutemen. But it's still down to Kieran and Age of Soul to clutch up big time. Mr. V is going to take a boatload of damage. And McCready, did you even notice we're not even a full minute into the action?
Yes, the Minutemen looking to live up to their name, but that diffuser is down, and Age of Soul is a little bit uncomfortable on what to do. Like you said, a 2 versus 3 and 2 minutes on the clock. Well, they've got time to work with the princesses. They've got confidence. They've got the gun skill. Big thing that I need to point out before I move on any further.
Yep.
Mr. Joe let a teammate die. And as much as we all have bad plays, we all have missed shots. That's a huge one. The Amaru walked in, got a free kill on Cocktail, and suddenly the Minutemen, they're trying to capitalize upon this. They're getting that very early momentum. And that's not something you can allow. Kieran will be going down below and looking to do something. I'm not really sure what the Minutemen have in mind, because the Princess, as you can see, their positioning is very aggressive. They realize they can win a lot of these gunfights, and they're not afraid to take them. Max P, still on the board. A wonderful name, by the way. I just want to point that out.
100%.
But they know what Age of Soul is, and Age of Soul has the diffuser down in basement. A minute has been wasted without a single bullet being shot, bar that one. Kieran realizing you've got to start moving forward, but you're at the point where you've got to use utility. You've got to give away your position. You don't have much time to work with. Someone's going to be looking. That someone's going to be Mr. V, and Kieran will fall. Age of Soul with 40 seconds is going to be heading to the white stairs now. Banshee is gone, but the Melusi probably isn't. A Valkyrie and Vigil left on the board. It's not looking good when you weigh up all the possibilities. Walking up the stairs, though, Age of Soul's going to disprove one of them, finds Mr. Joe, and has to look for a second. The call out onto Max P will go through, who's trying to get the Deagle kill. This might be a bit of a misplay, but it's not going to be. The prone angle, Max P, holding in laundry, finds that kill.
In my opinion, the best play that we had seen coming out from this entire round thus far came out from Zodi. And the main reason why I'm saying that is because roughly when there were about 90 seconds left on the timer itself, Zodi, he was on default cameras. He was already dead by that point, and he was just feeding information. And he spotted out Age of Soul downstairs in Bakery, and he simply typed hi in all chat. That absolutely rattled the Minutemen. It is the sole reason why they lost that round in that 2v3, and you cannot convince me otherwise. Playing the mental game on the side of Princess is absolutely loving it.
Yeah, the mental game, it's all the way, dude. It is. Right. Spoilers, come on. Some of us might not have seen it.
Aww.
You know what? Something, Two Doors.
Yes.
Do you want to know how long it took me to watch Avengers Endgame?
I'm gonna go ahead and...
Way too long. About a year and a half.
You saw it like a year and a half after release?
Okay.
Wow.
It took me about a year to watch Infinity War.
Okay.
And then it took me a year after the release of Endgame. So around about the time Endgame got released, it took me about a year to watch that because I just didn't care. You know, after Captain America Civil War, I just stopped caring. But people who haven't stopped caring might be the princesses. Although in chat, we're all talking quite a bit. You know, having a nice little conversation where we saw the first round going the way of the princesses, so they're on the bottom floor. A typical lineup's been brought out, but a skin has been detected on the Cade. Most importantly, if that K-Claw went down, it'd have to be shot and the TK would come through, meaning that there is a real opportunity on the board. That Kali isn't as important anymore, and that's not a bad thing.
Too bad that Roar actually isn't able to support the rest of BOL and, you know, don that Sniper's Monkey skin that we just saw not too long ago. It was a very, very gorgeous looking skin, and so are the rest that have been commissioned thus far for BOL. I do wish that we could actually, you know, have some community tools for us to create some skins, but alas, Ubisoft shan't make that happen for the time being. What is going to happen, though, Brewer being taken out of commission. He's the first to fall at the hands of Max P once again, that caliber that we were talking about not too long ago, as that is an interesting little Maverick drawing by the looks of it. Or actually, no, those were 2 trampolines that were used. coming out from Sauce as well as Kieran to blow the freezer wide open. Age of Soul picks up Mr. Joe. Max P almost capitalizes on Sauce, dropping that Montaigne shield. But it's a 4v3 scenario. Minutemen, they're in the driver's seat, surprisingly enough.
Yeah, now, the big thing for me is the aggression Minutemen are wanting to display. Dumfries demonstrating that with a quick kill onto Max P before Mr. V gets Kieran. But the thing is, Minutemen, they're in the driver's seat. Princesses, they've been playing that reactionary game. This is not what we expected, especially on when you could have gone to Coastline. On CAF, we expected them to want to take control. That's just not happened. That wall got open because the Cade wasn't there. 2 hard breach charges went down, and now it's open. Now they have a sightline. They've taken control of that double door, and they still have a hard breach in pocket on the Capital. They can really just start pulling Zodi and Mr. V apart. Right now, they're getting ready to push. They have a frag grenade. Dumfries is probably going to have to sacrifice it. No drone to bring around. You gotta take the L. And we're going to see some cameras taken away. Age of Soul will rotate around. Actually, yeah. Oh, there's a drone and a hard breach gadget. So a couple of opportunities onto site. And with this one-player advantage, the Princesses are going to be able to even things up. Zodi will find Age of Soul, but the push to prep has begun.
Indeed, it has, and it's going to be Sauce that's leading the charge, but little does he know that there is one player currently in hugging distance as Dumfries is able to shut down Zodi, leaving Mr. V with that pepperoni in a 1v2 scenario. This is definitely winnable, but you've already been spotted out, and bullets are starting to whiz directly past your brain. He does actually get a nasty little peek and a wallbang over towards a Dumfries and is able to shut him down as well. It's a 1v1 that he closes off. Unfortunately enough for Sauce, he dropped his shield, leaving his shoulder exposed. That was a very narrow angle, but Mr. V practically played that to perfection. This was one of the most winnable rounds on the side of Minutemen that I've seen in quite some time, but unfortunately enough, it slipped through their fingers at the very last moment.
Yes, 2 doors. In the words of the Rainbow Six UK gaming community, there was passion from Mr. V. Being able to isolate these gunfights, very, very nicely done. But then we saw Zodi as well, able to find Age of Soul, and in doing so, well, Minutemen, they'd got a lot of control. They were feeling comfortable. They had that player advantage, they had that site control, they were opening up Bakery Wall, so just like, yeah, let's just walk around. Age of Soul moves that position, doesn't expect the Princesses to get aggressive. That's where they're going to really start winning these rounds. That's where they're going to start picking things up. And right now, this is the opportunity to do so. We've seen quite a few golden nuggets, actually, from the Minutemen. That entry frag coming through from that Amory, on that first round. Then you look at that end round up until the last 10 seconds when Mr. V decided to come up huge and say, no, I don't want to die. That's going to ruin my KD. I can't let that happen. Kitchen dining. Reading dining.
KD.
Reading
KD 4-0.
That's what I mean. Like, he wants to keep it. But I don't blame him. With a KD like that, of course, you know, you position yourself for greatness. But reading dining is the site for the Minutemen. When you look at their lineup, they've got the tools to accomplish it. They've got the opportunities to actually... I'm gonna be pretty out there, but the way that Minutemen have been playing, right? They've wanted to be different. They've wanted to catch people off guard. If they're fast, they could get into reading, use the book, shoot up, and deal with a very aggressive top stairs hold.
Yeah, it's definitely within the realm of possibility, but the one thing that has actually caught my eye for the time being is Roar. He's actually decided to bring out that Thermite as opposed to the Vigil, and that leads me to believe that they might be flirting with the idea of an execution through train into dining. Not exactly sure. We'll only have to wait and see how this round starts to progress. But regardless, Dumfries was the first to fall. I believe that was at the hands of Mr. V once again. So you're going to lose out on 2 frag grenades, and now you're going to lose on a couple of smoke grenades in the back pocket of Dokkaebi as NSJ Sauce unfortunately drops down right to his doom, claimed once more. I believe that was at the hands of Mr. Joe with that lovely T5 SMG. Princesses, they're not even allowing Minutemen to actually take a single step in the building.
Yeah, they're being punished every single second now. I'm not exactly sure how what Vigil would be able to go in that attacking lineup like you hinted at, but it's perfectly fine. We're seeing the repelling from Rua into this brown VIP area. You can move up the stairs, but they know exactly where you are. The camera's giving the information over to Kieran. Well, now you could drop down and maybe help out. Well, right now, Princesses, they're looking comfortable as the Minutemen did in that last round. They've got two-player advantage, map control, site control, everything they want. And they've got a player on white stairs. That's a crucial position, as is red stairs, because the Minutemen, they have opted for that bottom floor. Max P is able to find one kill. Age of Soul tries to hit fire. Will be able to catch Max P. Look at the wrong way. Mr. V being taken off the guard. Minutemen, they find 2 kills and possibly an opening. But they're playing it very split apart. Rua's going to fall. It's all going to be down to Age of Soul. You don't have the diffuser. You don't have time to go get it. You need to go for these kills, and you cannot waste a single second. 1 minute on the clock. You're going to have to be the eponymous hero of the Minutemen and start pushing into Piano. Moves up towards White, starts doing vertical play, but what good is it? You've got to take these gunfights. You don't have time to be whacking the ground, whereas Princesses, they can just fall down to the bottom floor, and that's safety. Are they going to? No. They have the crossfires. They are ready, and right now, they're ready to get some kills. Mr. Joe will move around to Laundry and is ready to cover this push. The crossfires, they're in the right position, and we're just seeing the push come through. Age of Soul will win it out, though. Mr. Joe being taken away. Get Sony as well, a third. Now you can nearly get that diffuser, but it's down to So What to play it safe, and that's exactly what they're going to do. You're going to run in front, and So What cleans it up. And it's just like what we've seen before. It's what we've seen with Coconut Cracked. They have something there. It can happen, but it's just not. That little bit extra coming out from the Princesses to win out the round each and every time.
And the one thing that that I do want to point out from the conclusion of that round, especially when it came down to the last 40-odd seconds, is the fact that Princesses were, well, they were lacking on intel, surprisingly enough. And the main reason why I'm actually saying that, and the main reason why Age of Soul did indeed have the upper hand and was able to pick up a 2-piece, is because of the fact that, well, they didn't have any information to work off of. If you did pay attention, yellow pings were actually being dropped by the Princesses towards that western portion of the map, over by the engine and train side. They thought that Age of Soul was already an engine, potentially looking to take the fight towards the player inside of pillars. And then we had Mr. Joe, who then opted to face peek a couple of angles here and there, because he was actually working his way towards that 90 corridor that Science is currently highlighting for the time being. And then he turned over towards the white staircase, and Age of Soul managed to get the jump on him, and then the jump on the player inside of Library as well. Because of the fact that Age of Soul actually was able to keep himself as quote-unquote the unknown factor in those last 40-odd seconds, he got a 2-piece, which was absolutely massive, and he nearly clutched the round altogether. He had a couple of extra seconds to work with, potentially to recover that diffuser. It would have been done and dusted if he was able to win that 1v1. But regardless, that is Princesses sealing out the hat trick, a full successful site rotation, and now they're looking to do it once over again.
Yeah, and Max is looking to just ramp up the aggression and give Princesses what we expected. And that's just a little bit more spring in their step. A little more pep in their bite. With that little spawn peek. Didn't get the kill, but most importantly gave away that information. Source is going to be able to find So What, and in doing so, this road clear is going to begin. The bottom floor take on white stairs. It makes you think, well, there's no buck, but they could try and play below. Max P is going to try and be a big issue. Mr. Joe has a lot of potential to really come up huge on this. 2 minutes 20, and I feel like right now, it's all down to the Minutemen to lose it. Rua's able to find another kill onto Mr. V, and now we're starting to see things, yet again, go in favor of the Minutemen. They just need to be able to close it down. Dumfries is going to take some damage and will fall to Mr. Joe playing down below, meaning that Habana's taken away. That vertical plate, that's not going to happen. You didn't have a buck to start with. Your Habana, you could shoot the roof and deal with utility. Well, that's just not going to happen anymore. You're going to see the Minutemen start to stall out on the roof. They need to push through. And for the Princesses, it's just a case of taking your one-on-one engagements, which Rua's about to give you. Max P and Piano is able to find a kill onto the drop. The Minutemen are going to have to stall out at this point because they're on red stairs. They're not ready for a push. Rua just not have that coordination you need.
No, and the fact that they actually are now holed up inside or technically speaking, at the top of the red stairs doesn't exactly put them in the prime position either. It's basically just kill box that Max P is able to exploit this time. He picks up the first, that is the Zofia of Sauce, and now he's looking to also pick up Age of Soul. C4 will be tossed on out, but Age of Soul manages to narrowly avoid it. Now he's caught in a tricky gunfight between himself and Max P, which he is able to win out thanks to that SMG-11, but unfortunately enough, Mr. Joe's got the jump on him from down below. It's all down to Kieran, who has been spotted out thanks to that bulletproof camera, and he is effectively just a clay pigeon waiting to be shot at by yours truly, Zodi. Minutemen, unfortunately enough, lost out on a couple of casualties. Sure enough, they did get 2 massive opening frags, but then things started to get disorganized, sloppy, and they just kind of shot themselves in the foot the moment they dropped down through that red hatch, and Princesses were more than happy to oblige.
The thing is that I've noticed throughout the entire league is that this has been a recurring theme for Minutemen. They've been uncoordinated. They've been, as you've described it, sloppy. Think about that push now from Age of Soul in that hatch. Right, think about Skylight push. If you have control of that red stairs, you've taken away Max and Piano because that player on Skylight's droning and letting you know that they're getting aggressive, then, okay, simply put, as soon as the drop comes through, you've got control. You've got somebody to act upon it. But no, that's not what happened. Max was completely uncontested and found the kill onto the Nomad. The red stairs players were still there and had no impact.
No,
and it's Minutemen giving away advantage after advantage, and they're doing it on their attack. Granted, this isn't their defense, but it doesn't bode well. It doesn't really inspire you with confidence when you're seeing coordination at a fundamental level just not being there.
Yeah, and there is also one thing that I have to say that kind of reinforces what you were talking about. The first player that actually did fall on the side of the Minutemen was Ruhr, if I'm not mistaken, who was playing the Hibana, who was down below of all things. I'm not exactly sure what a hard breacher, your only hard breacher on the attacking side, is actually doing, trying to roam clear instead of, for example, you know, shooting out Excalibur pellets at the top of the red staircase. So then, you do decide to drop in there later as the round progresses. You have 2 different pathways to actually work with, one into Piano and one into Kiosk. And the Kiosk door was blocked off by an Aruni gate as well, which actually gave Max the advantage, all things considered. Speaking of getting the advantage, he's able to do that once again. He takes the gunfight over Dumfries, just basically dropping through that dining room window, and he will finally be felled, at least left in the DBNO status, but somebody is right behind him to back him up. I believe that is Mr. Joe, or So What, excuse me, who's looking to contest things, ensuring that Max P can crawl his way all the way to safety. But Minutemen, already 45 seconds in, they have lost one of my favorite operators, Dumfries on the glass, but luckily enough, they do have another sniper as backup. That is Ruhr, picking up one with the collie, so we're back at an even playing field.
Oh no, Mr. Joe and Max P, they're gonna jump out, but Age of Souls covering it is able to find a kill. Mr. Joe is still in the dining. There is a lot of potential as long as someone's not covering. But Minutemen, yeah, they're not inside the building. That's the big thing. Max has just died, but you've just sacrificed the amount of time that Minutemen have to work with. They don't want to move in. Look at them. They do not want to go anywhere. They know there's sightlines. They know there's pressure. This is not the position they want to be in, but this is the best position for them. They don't want to be inside the building as just as much. That Cade will finally be brought, so the Cali has a use, but you still got to get in. You got to use that hard breach. You got to open things up, and in doing so, expose yourself to that dining area. Source will be taken down from Mr. Joe in the dining hatch, and now, well, it's a 3 versus 2. Age of Soul has got a bump and is trying to get something, and the fuse has started to move in, but you're looking at it, and yet again, you're simply saying this isn't stepping up well. You can see Mr. Joe right there, able to find a kill onto Brewer Towns, and will be able to finish them off, and it might be the nail in the coffin for the Minutemen.
Yeah, definitely could be. That is a lovely little angle that I know existed, but it's something that the Minutemen didn't even expect, surprisingly enough. And they did actually have a player contest Mr. Joe at the top of that hatch just a tad bit earlier in Speak of the Devil. He'll finally be put to rest as well at the hands of Kieran. 30 seconds left to play with, meaning that time is certainly on the side of the Minutemen, and now that Age of Soul is in the prime position to strike, or at the very least drop down through the hatch and catch Zodi off guard, this is starting to look that much more winnable on the side of the Minutemen, but Diffuser is not in their possession. They'll have to do this the good old-fashioned way, and now that they have spotted out Zodi as he's trying to scamper away behind the bomb chassis, they have got to strike. They've hit mission critical, and Kieran is the first to fall at the hands of Zodi, and Mr. V is going to chime in with one of his own Minutemen. Unfortunately enough, didn't put the information that they had at their fingertips to good use, and as such, they will not be able to find their first attacking round on Cafe yet again. The Princesses, they only need 2 more to go before they are indeed the first team within BOAL to flawlessly beat the Minutemen.
Yes, we've seen a lot of teams come close, but nobody just get there. And right now, well, I'm gonna drop a little bit of truth on you. Do you wanna in World War One, Toodles? I know we're going back a little bit, and it's not Siege, but in World War One,
hit me.
Right? The British Airmen, the new recruits, they were nicknamed 15-minuters. Would you like to know why?
Yes, I would actually.
That was their life expectancy.
Oh, wow.
I think you see what I'm getting at here.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that their life expectancy would at the very least be 18 years of age, because that's how old you need to be recruited, right?
Yeah, but like the time that you're expected to stay alive in the air was 15 minutes, and I think we're seeing something similar going on. Minutemen, they're getting aggressive early, they're finding opening kills, opening frags, opportunities, very good ones at that, but they're giving it away. They're trying to keep on pushing before they have been able to take stock, drone out, get information. The first person to push is 9 times out of 10 alone. They get killed, and the rest of the Minutemen, they're trying to catch up. The Princesses have time to regroup, reorganize, and adjust their defense, because that... Think about it, right? You can stall out when it comes to getting a kill, you take too long, getting your team together, getting information to push it forward. Well, Minutemen aren't even there. That's at least better than what's going on right now. Rua's able to shut down a spawn peak, but the question is, as Max P jumps out, how long is it gonna last? Like, Max P will be taken away by Source Joe, but right now, we've got to see Minutemen, they're feeling a lot of early aggression. This could be the opportunity to save off that 7-0, but Mr. Joe's gonna be able to find a kill onto Kieran. Rua doesn't even know that it's on the left side, and will be following in. The pre-fire goes through, but doesn't land the shot, because Mr. Joe got a kill. You play it safe. Minutemen, well, you are a player up, but quite a bit down in momentum.
They did start to build that up, though. The fact that they were able to shut down the aggression that Mr. V and Max P were exerting was absolutely astounding. And Ruhr, you saw in the kill feed that he got that with the SPSMG-9 onto Max P, and that was over by the garage, if I'm not mistaken, at the bottom of the white staircase. And Ruhr was at the very least like 30 meters away on the opposite side of the ice cream van, which was absolutely ridiculous. How are you able to hit those shots with the SMG instead of the sniper rifle? I don't know, but keep doing it. He'll take out Mr. Joe before finally being taken out himself. Zodi gets the immediate refrag, so Princesses, while they might be relegated to just 2 remaining members, they are able to tip the scales in their favor ever so slightly. We are about to surpass the halfway mark of the round. Minutemen, they're going to put that soft reach utility to good use, and they're going to be exerting a lot of vertical pressure down below. The Princesses, they're going to start feeling the heat soon enough.
Yeah, right now, the Princesses, they just sit down, and Zodi's position is a good one, actually. Because you look at this, that alibi's in the way, the deployable shield's there's going to be some audio cues when they do look to push through, you act upon it. You're very, very underexposed when it actually comes to that vertical play. The swing will come through, but Source is able to win out that gunfight, and now it's all down to so what. You have to get a lot more aggressive, and you've got the Ella shotgun. The plan's starting to go down, and they're expecting this launch rotate to be a big problem area. You won't be able to find the kill when the swing comes through, but you're going to have to find it from somewhere else. Unable to land the shots, they just keep missing. Dumfries takes some damage, but Minutemen, they're not getting 7-0 today.
Man, I haven't seen anybody pick up a kill with this particular sidearm since way back when in Win Bastion, and oh my, does it warm my heart to see it. Unfortunately enough for the Princesses, they aren't able to close off that very final round in their first half to get a perfect 6-0. So now the honor is going to be bestowed upon, if I'm not mistaken, if I'm not mistaken, the Sniper Monkeys to see if they're going to be the first team to 7-0 the Minutemen when next week does indeed roll around. But all things considered, that started to look much more decisive on the side of the Minutemen. And despite the fact that, I usually do wag my fingers at teams that actually do stack up that heavily when they are getting the diffuser down, they had information on exactly where the last standing player, so what indeed was located. So, you know what? It's acceptable. It's forgivable on the side of the Minutemen. I want to see more of that from them. It started to look like they finally got their engine revving, and they were able to thread the needle. So, now that they have moved on to the defensive side, I'm hoping that they can continue this and at least give the Princesses a much more decisive run for their money.
I want to touch upon that a bit.
Yeah.
Minutemen, that was a different route for them. Simply put, we saw a different team then. I'm gonna be honest, that push was concise, it was coordinated, it was constructed in a way that it just none of the rest were. But that was a great change, and it was needed, and most importantly. But that's not the change they need now. They're going on to the defense. They don't need to be shaping up their attacks. It feels a little bit like too little, too late. Look, there's 2 rounds that Princesses need. Only 1 to get overtime and at least guarantee 16 points instead of 13. And, well, I'm gonna be honest, it doesn't look great. I can't sit here in good conscience and say the Minutemen are gonna be good. Look, Dumfries is trying to spawn peek against the Minutemen who have been landing their shots. Granted, he's gonna land his shots, won't take a single bullet in return and takes away Mr. Joe. But right now, I'm looking at Princesses and saying, well, they've got a lot more advantages. They've got a lot less to lose. They're going to be opening up this red wall. And, well, once the utility's cleared, well, they're going to be dropping through. They're going to be extending that pressure. I expect it to be a lot faster. A lot more dominant than what we saw from the Minutemen. I mean, the repels are coming through, and some utility will be drained thanks to Max P on this piano stage window. The F2 is there, and what it's doing, you can see, is forcing out Age of Soul. A player on minibar window and a player on this piano window, easy kill. Source is playing down below and has the vertical angles, which we've seen a lot of times. My biggest thing right now is who's going to crack first. Because we're seeing 4 attackers. They're getting ready to push through. Max P is going to make that entry. He's going to try and find a kill. We'll peek through and just start walking on. That F2 with the 1.5 is an incredible weapon. Spots the Ella, goes to the swing, gets him, and Mr. V gets another. It's going to start opening up for the Princesses, looking to push it down to match point. Kieran just can't land the shots with the Kector, and Rua's on white stairs. Halfway on the round, and we're seeing a 3 versus 4. The flank is coming out from Source. This could be huge, but the Claymore will go down. You'll have to shoot it to get past. You'll have to do something. Right now, though, I'm going to see the Princesses gearing up for an attack.
They were able to, well, quite literally get rid of the entire Pixel presence in one fell swoop, and Kieran is also going to be taken down relatively easily. A lot of action taking place over by the White Staircase is going to leave, if I'm not mistaken, Roar down in the dirt, and just like that, we also have the Buck closing things off on the side of the Princesses. That was, all things considered, an extraordinary start on the side of the Minutemen, but they weren't able to hold on to it. The Princesses, they were just extremely cutthroat when it came to their execution of clearing out Pixel, as well as the restroom, which was the thing that actually caught me by surprise. The fact that they were able to shut down the player inside of that bathroom, because usually it does sort of serve as a second bastion when you have initially cleared out, or when you've lost Pixel on the side of the defense. You then retreat back in towards bathroom because it is just that close by and you can hold it perfectly with shotgun. But Princesses, they were able to get those 2 players, put them out of commission in quick succession, and just like that, Minutemen, they had basically only a single leg to stand on, and that was all of the presence over towards that eastern side of the map, White Stairs as well as Bar, and that, simply put, isn't enough to win a round anymore.
Yeah, and I mean, I want to say that bathroom could have been defended a little bit better, and that's simply by Mr. V not peeking it. I mean, Mr. V, the person that they killed, because Mr. V was finding the kill alongside Max. They had a very aggressive presence, piano control. You shouldn't be peeking it. Right now, Minutemen, they're coming back to the top floor, and they're looking to bring the clash. I don't want to see this clash on Pixel. I want to see this over towards that cocktail, that shop kind of area, because, well, simply put, piano fell, it's always going to fall. But you determine how long it takes. If you bring a Wamai and a Jaeger, well, you can make sure that it stays there a very long time. Combined
Which
with
there
Goya,
are none, by
that
the way.
pixel can stay the whole time. But they have none of those operators, like you just said. And they're going to try and support peek. Right now, we're just going to see the Clash looking to get information, but Rua is trying to find a kill. You'd expect the princesses to be a little bit more aware of this, and that's why they're going to be spawning at different locations. They're not offering the Minutemen anything. They've already lost a round, and they don't want to lose it, but Dumfries is going to be there waiting, watching, and praying that you're going to be able to land those shots. Mr. V, though, with the kill, takes away the duck, and gets the opening kill for the princess, as only 4 remains between them and victory. Rua's going to take an aggressive gunfight onto that white window, not exactly sure why, but at least escaping with the life, that's okay. You didn't take much damage, back up, play a better angle, because simply put, that's not good. Why is nobody checking the red stairs? Mr. Joe takes damage, but so what closes down the kill? The Clash is there, but Kieran's all alone. That red wall just got opened up, and that player can go onto that piano stage window. Kieran, you gotta think about pulling back rather soon, maybe playing a bit too aggressive than what I said. There it is! Max is there with a knife, does that damage, but doesn't get the kill, and now, well, the Clash is stuck! But Asian Rua, they're gonna make sure that they can get out of there. What is happening? Minutemen, they're stepping up in a huge way. Rua's able to find So What and Mr. V and Max P. The 2 M's. The 2 PVs. Mr. V is able to find Kieran. Now it's all down to a 2 versus 2 miss. Max is just moving. He's just getting aggressive. He's just pushing through. He spots Age of Soul. He's just watching for that rotate back. He's able to find the kill. It's all down to Brewer on Pixel now. And Mr. V is going to close it down.
The princesses, they effectively walked into a death trap where they actually realized it or not. And I'm not exactly sure if this was intentional on the side of the Minutemen, but I do want to actually quickly discuss what happened in that very, very last round, because as you saw, the princesses, they had a really, really good plan set in stone and how to execute it accordingly to deal with the Clash. As you saw, the Clash was actively trying to contest the garage, or not the garage, the kiosk at the very, very top floor, and we had Max actually exerting a lot of pressure to the point that, you know, the Clash actually was staggered and the shield and the rest of the Clash's body was entirely exposed. When you're actually, you know, undergoing that amount of pressure, you are forced to actually fall back. And the moment that the Clash actually did start to fall back, we had a couple of players on the side of the princesses that did actually have an opening from red directly in towards piano. And we saw, I believe there were 2 players. I didn't exactly quite catch the names of who those 2 attackers were, but they were effectively like on the Clash's 6 to the point that it was an easy freebie. But the one thing that they didn't take into account, the one missing piece of the formula was Roar, who was sat behind in Pixel playing the Rook, MP5 with the 2.0 scope, and he just went to town. Whether or not the Minutemen realized that they had set up a perfect kill box to just deal with 3 players on the side of the princesses simultaneously, and it was quite astounding to see, all things considered. But unfortunately enough for them, it didn't grant them the dub. The princesses were able to pull themselves together and close off the map 7-1.
Yeah, I feel like it's the outcome everybody kind of expected. The 7-0 wasn't there, so, well, Minutemen can leave with some of their pride intact about that, but there's got to be a lot of change if you want to really start having an impact, even this late into the season. You've got to be getting the vaudeville, you've got to tighten down. You're really not playing coordinated enough. You're able to have it, and you have had it in some wonderful moments, some sparks of brilliance, but it's just not lasted long enough. You see that last round with that crossfire, well, it started to fall apart as soon as they moved out of that area. As soon as Rua got those 2 kills, well, they pushed somewhere else, and it just wasn't there. There was somebody who didn't know, there wasn't information. That was a bulletproof camera watching Cocktail, and they didn't see Max walk up. There's a lot of changes that need to be implemented. The princesses, however, they gave a little bit more than they should have, probably. A lot of those rounds were a lot closer. I believe 3 of them. The first 4 rounds, 3 of them easily could have been wins for the Minutemen. And that yeah, I mean, we saw 1vx scenarios quite a few times. It came down to So What, just holding in museum, playing it safe, realizing the player's on white, I'm in museum, the diffuser's here, they can't win. Simply put, I'm going to win this gunfight. Yeah. A lot of work on both sides needs to be done, but that's going to be it for the first game. Princesses, they're going to be going into next week with that 17 points. They're in a very, very good position.
Massive.
And looking for the playoffs, well, you can expect them to be very, very happy that they're going to be in there and they're looking to be at the very top of that board. Our next game that is going to be coming up is going to be the Lockdown Ludens going up against Coconut Crack. Now, last week we saw Coconut Crack really start to stall out and struggle against, I believe it was the Sniper Monkeys. I'm not exactly sure exactly who it was.
It was indeed it was Team Trident, actually.
Oh, Team Triton, yes, sorry, myself and Jerry casted on Villa, which is going to be auto-banned. They sold out, they had a couple of issues, but they did have quite a few really good moments, which is why I'm very excited to get into that. But we are going to be taking a break. We're going to be starting up with that game on the hour, so come a little bit beforehand, and you'll get to see our wonderful faces again. But for now, well, just have a nice little breather. Go use the toilet, have a drink. You know, you got some time. We'll be back. You better be as well. Hello and welcome back, everybody. We had a very one-sided game, but I think the general feeling for the production team is that while it was one-sided, it was interesting. You know, we saw off-meta bans, very different ways of approaching things. It wasn't your typical game, but speaking of typical games, this is going to be none of that is going to be going on here. This is a huge game for Lockdown Ludens.
Indeed it is. They're going to be going up against Quadruple C, also known as Coconut Cracked, and this particular matchup has more or less the exact same narrative as the one we just witnessed, mainly because of the fact that the Coconuts, they are relatively down in terms of actual standings and points altogether. So they're technically going to be fulfilling the exact same role as the Minutemen, but they are actually much more favored to accomplish that particular role. Obviously because of the fact that they have been, to a certain extent, putting up some massive performances, however, not being able to close off matches in their favor, there is still the possibility for them to disrupt Lockdown Ludens' standings. For the time being, they are just on the edge. They are currently 4th, and just behind them is Team Trident. They are both equal on 12 points, and Team Trident desperately want to overtake them in their particular matchup later this evening as well. So, the Coconuts, if they're actually able to force Lockdown Ludens into overtime, then whew, I can only imagine the beef and the fireworks that are going to be taking place as the evening is brought to a close. But as you stated, this is an important matchup for the Lockdown Ludens. They need this to secure top 4.
Yes, now the Ludens, they're an interesting roster. I say this every cast, but I think it's important. They've got the most experience playing together out of literally all of the teams. If you bring up their roster right now, you'll see exactly why. That's because the Lockdown Ludens, they've retained that Season 1 lineup. They've got exactly what they had before. They said it worked. We won that first round of Season 1. We had strong performances from there. We placed well overall. Let's keep it. On the flip side, though, we've got a couple of recurring names. We've got Call Me Dictor and Orca. They're both returning from that Season 1, but they're coming in with a new roster. You've got James Tulloch, or as you might know, King Cairo, a fellow caster, alongside that T4 community, and Boris. Coconut Crack, they've been one of those very interesting teams in which they just don't have the finishing power. There's so much potential. They've taken so many teams to all the 15 rounds. And they just can't seem to close it down. Only one victory on the board, if I'm not mistaken.
That is true, and that one victory that they actually were able to grab, I just need to double check that currently. They actually were able to beat out Froggers at the very start of Playday 2, but the one performance that actually does sort of speak volumes to me was their performance against the IOM, Imperium of Mandem, in week number 5. They were able to force us all the way to overtime, and it was arguably like one of Call Me Dicta's and Orca's best performances. I think it was actually Call Me Dicta who managed to put down a whopping 20 kills, and then Angelix on the side of IOM was able to one-up that by 21 kills, claiming a triple kill in the very last round of Oregon. So, Coconut Cracked. They are quite the roster, but at the exact same time, they're not quite the roster just because of the fact that they haven't necessarily been delivering the results that we tend to expect from them. They have the potential to accomplish that, and this particular matchup against Lockdown Ludens is certainly going to put them to the test.
Yeah, we've seen that narrative kind of take place quite a few times, actually.
Yeah.
It's been teams that just aren't able to really close things down. It's like rosters you expect to see really huge things from just can't make it happen. For example, like G2 Super Team, where they brought in Citizen and Virtue, and it just didn't work out.
The same thing can be said for Vitality as well with their European
and then you think
team.
It's not just Siege, it's CSGO as well. You think about FaZe's Super Team. God, that was a nightmare. But we're looking at teams like Sniper Monkeys. They're on the same boat. Lockdown Ludens, though, they're looking to win things out. Where? Well, we're about to find out. These map bans, they're going to be coming through. They're going to be saying, well, this is an important game for Ludens. Getting the side switch is going to be very important. The side selection. It's a best of one. A really strong half can really determine how this plays out. Oregon and Villa, they're going to be those auto bans, and CAF and Consulate the first to fall out of the actual player bans as well. Clubhouse, Chile, and Coastline still on the board. And we're going to be aiming for Coastline, which makes a lot of sense. Coconut Cracked. They've performed really well on here. So even in Season 1, the big thing, though, is Ludens. They've also done very well. Just remember that Maestro smoke combination of Giobu and Gady. They, oh my god, it is brutal sometimes. And when you think about Orca, she has a bit of a tendency to not look where she's going. Just a simple pickup of maybe a cap can really stunt their aggression.
Yeah, definitely. The one factoid that I do want to pull up is the last time that Coconut Crack did indeed visit Coastline was in week number 4 against Sniper Monkeys. And they unfortunately lost it out in the very last round of regulation. That was a scoreline of 7-5. So technically speaking, this is a map that they should very well be versed at, or they should be very well versed at for the time being. They are bringing that experience to the table when we do eventually hop into the game and we actually do see the gorgeous skybox of the lovely beaches in Ibiza as well. So personally, I really want to back up Coconut Cracked on this particular matchup, especially because of the fact that Villa or excuse me, not Villa, but Coastline by Nature is a map that, technically speaking, is a playground that perfectly suits names such as Orca as well as Call Me Dicta. They do fill out those roles of not necessarily finding opening frags and just heavy fragging in general, but they do have the potential to carry over the rest of the squad over that finish line if it is desperately needed. So those are two names that you are definitely going to have to keep your eyes on. Out Call Me Dicta and Orca, I'm expecting massive performances right here on Coastline. They should feel right at home.
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna go against you on that. I expect the Ludens to win this one out, mainly because there's a lot more pressure for them. So they're gonna be going into this a lot more serious, a lot more controlled and composed because they know what's on the line. Realistically, if they don't win this, they've got some really, really hard matches up ahead of them. Triton can take that spot, and if Triton get just a good couple of wins under their belt, that can seal the deal, realistically. Ludens, they're also very, very comfortable on this map. Like I said, they've played it quite a bit. They've had very, very stellar performances in Season 1. And a big thing in Season 1 that really made them stand out to me was they had aggressive play. They had really good mechanical ability. For example, I want to talk about Benji and Proctor. They have just been huge players. Both in Season 1, Season 2, in everything. Even when I played on my Unili team and I played against Proctor and I got absolutely slapped. They have been such huge names to the Ludens roster that I look at Coastline, I think it plays into them perfectly. They're going to be going in there saying, okay, right, well, let's win our aim duels. Let's get the basic strat down, make sure we can still have this roam movement, and let's win.
Yeah, that is essentially the name of the game for Lockdown Ludens, and obviously, despite the fact that they didn't necessarily have the most successful run through Challenger League quals, I believe they, as you stated at the start of the broadcast, they unfortunately did get first rounded on Friday as well, so they are in desperate need of a dub, so at the very least they can get this week off on the right foot, and it's not necessarily needed just for overall morale, but because of the fact that, like I said before discussing rosters as well as map vetoes, they do need this dub right over here to secure their spot in the top 4 and at the very least distance themselves even further from Team Trident as well. We are just currently waiting on a single player to work their way into the lobby before we can indeed hop into the action and get the matchup underway, but I believe everything that can be discussed has already been said. So is there any other sort of burning topics that we should discuss before we do hop into the action?
Who do you think we're waiting on? Let's bring up the rosters again, actually, and have a quick look. Let's see. Let's take bets. Let's have a nice little look and just say, all right, who do we think is going to be the culprit here? You're looking at Coconut. I think I'm going to take a shot in the dark, and I'm going to say Gady.
You think we're waiting on Gady? Well, the thing is that Science didn't even actually tell us from which team we're missing the player. So, since you picked out a player on the set of Lockdown Ludens, I'm at the very least going to say it's Coconut Cracked, and indeed, Science did confirm that. So, I think it's King Cairo.
Spoilers all the way. You know, I was leaning towards Cairo and Coconut, to be honest. You know, he's a great guy, and because I feel like he's such a great guy, I feel like I could bully him, I could pick him out. Yeah, we're gonna vote for Cairo. Our observer will tell us very, very soon who we might be waiting on, who will join. But most importantly, let's just remind you exactly what this game is about. Lockdown Ludens here. They want to win. They want to push themselves into that top 4 spot. If they have got some tough games coming up, this is arguably going to be one of the easiest ones that they need looking forward. They need to have a very, very noticeable impact, and if they don't deliver or get pushed to overtime, well, when we see our third game, that might just spell disaster for the Ludens.
And yeah, as you said, in case if you guys don't already know exactly who Lockdown Ludens have got to face up in the next couple of weeks, in week number 8 that starts next week, their match is going to be on Tuesday. They've got to go up against the Chimp Hunters, and then to close off the regular season, their final matchup is going to be against the Froggers as well. So they've got a relatively stacked couple of teams that they are indeed going to be facing up as the rest of the season continues to progress, and as we also draw season number 2 to a conclusion. So for the time being, we are unfortunately going to have to continue the waffle on just a tad bit longer, but hey, it is what it is.
Toodles, why can't you start the game?
But
press the button.
I don't know exactly where the button is.
Oh, we've
I mean,
lost
I
it.
seem to have lost it. There is an absolute... There's so much junk on my desk to the point that I completely lost track of the start game button. I'm sorry, Creedy. Do you happen to have the button on you?
Not really in me right now. Apparently,
Aw.
somebody's finishing a ranked game, and well, it seems to be one of these players. But while we have the waffle, let's at least talk a little bit about something useful. Let's bring
Such
up
as?
the map bans. Let's talk about maybe what's going through the mind of these two teams. Because, well, you think about this. One of the teams pushed us through the coastline. I think it's Coconut Cracked who did that.
No.
But it was the
Ludens.
Ludens. And I think Coconut Cracked, they said Ludens, Clubhouse. At the very start, that was your map. That was where you started things out. That was where you had... It's Season 1, Playday won a build that myself and Jerry casted. It was a long day with almost every possible rehost taking place. It did. And not a single break for the casters between the game. We had a great time just chatting, just like this, actually.
Yeah.
But that was Ludens' map. And it's just been taken away. Chalet, I think Ludens is saying we don't want to deal with that because that's such a big game. That's such a new
gamble.
map that comes to, and yeah, and the Ludens, right? They want to go to what they know. They want to go to Coastline where they're going in confident. Coastline doesn't really change much. It comes down to your mechanical ability. You have the basic of a strat. As long as you have essentially a Maestro or a Smoke, you're good, really. Let's be honest. You can bring whatever you want and play some gunfights. As long as reinforcements, actual setup is done properly, you're fine.
Yeah, true. The main reason why I personally love Coastline so much, other than the rest of the maps, is because of the fact that it provides gameplay opportunities that you simply don't see anywhere else. Simply because of the fact that you're not forced to bring out a hard breacher to deal with a lot of the setups, means that it gives you leeway for so many other kinds of strategies that you don't get to see every other day. And I can usually attest to that as well with Consulate. In my mind, and this is something that a lot of people are going to throw shade at me, I personally enjoy Consulate the most from a viewer perspective, just because of the fact that each of the 4 bomb sites are so unique in the different sort of gameplay aspects that they do provide, such as the top floor. It relies heavily on repelling. The bottom floor, the basement bomb site inside a garage, the moment that the garage panels are opened up, it's essentially just a Mexican standoff between the anchors and the players directly outside. And Consulate is the only map that actually does have stacking bomb sites as well. But we're going to have to push that aside because we have finally gotten all the players in the lobby. They have concluded their ranked matches and we can finally hop into Coastline.
Yes, let's hope the ELO is worth it because the wait better be. Coconut Cracked on the defense. We'll be looking for the first defense. And I'm going to be honest, if I see a cap cannon, it's not going to surprise me. If that aggression is taken away, it's just not great. But they're going on the defense first and have said, roam game is something we don't want to shut down. Jackal's gone. We're not having that at all. I feel personally, right? Nomad is a little bit more powerful because Nomad is something you can't counter in the same way as a Jackal. With the Jackal, you can have somebody playing nearby, get an aggressive swing, you can bait with it. With a Nomad, no. With an air jab, that's rough because, well, simply put, with a Jackal, you can just shoot it. Nomad air jabs, they're going to be put into awkward positions that can catch these players off guard. And 2 staircases, if you can get control as Ludens with Nomad, put those air jabs down, Coconut Cracked, you need an Oryx to get around that map comfortably, quietly, and stealthily. Blackbeard will be removed, and suddenly, well, that makes sense. Is there anything really else to say about it? He's got a rifle shield, there's a lot of windows, big window, Blackbeard mains really like. Frost is going to be banned.
That's interesting. That is something... I'm not exactly sure if Frost actually warrants a ban on this map. I was personally thinking that the Ludens would have banned out something along the lines of Valkyrie. They may bestow that honor upon Coconut Crack, but that shan't be the case. This is, surprisingly enough, the exact same set of operator bans that Coconuts have thrown out as their previous matchup on Coastline against the Sniper Monkeys in Week 4. They banned out both Spanish operators that were introduced alongside Coastline in Operation Velvet Shell at the start of Year 2. And I'm not exactly sure why. I mean, don't get me wrong, Jackal may be kind of pesky to deal with, and sure, his ban rate has indeed spiked over the last couple of weeks in comp play across all platforms. But I'm not exactly sure if it is the right call. The fact that Nomad has slipped through, as you stated, means that the defense are essentially going to not necessarily be all too comfortable with going for runouts, for example.
Yeah. Now, that Nomad is being flashed up on the screen, but the Thatcher's being taken. I think they're looking at this and saying, right, there's a clash. She can slow us down. With a Thatcher, you can shut that out. The thing that I really like about that 6-pick is you're looking at that and you're seeing the Nomad. And, yeah, you see the Nomad and you're saying, well, yeah, exactly. You don't want to run out.
Logical,
you don't want to go do things, yeah. Even though that's a 6-pick, and you might see a Thatcher be like, oh, they didn't have that before. Well, you don't know for certain. It's better to just play it safe. Now, interesting thing I do want to point out, Orca has said, hope you're ready for my horrible recoil control. Well, I hope the ranked game was helping you out, because that's exactly where she was.
Has the actual update gone through?
It went through about an hour or two before we started. So, Jaeger has less ammo in the gun, and increased recoil. Jackal, actually, one of these band operators, also lost a little bit of ammo, but it wasn't as big of a ban. As big of a change.
You know what?
Orca, we're going to see how this recoil looks, because I haven't actually played it yet. I was out getting suits for undisclosed events, such as, well, probably the viewing party we have with the Buell staff, and I'll probably do it for you kid too, you know. Gotta get a suit, gotta get tied, gotta look good. But anyway, yeah, I'm being distracted. We're seeing, actually, JMXC coming in instead of Boris. I think it might be the same player, might be a different one, I don't know. The big thing is the Ludens, they've started their attack.
Indeed, they have for the time being. And on the subject of on Jackal losing just super quickly, like a small little side tangent. Okay.
Oh.
Thank you, KK, for so rudely interrupting me. Absolutely doming Orca from the top of the roof. That was over by Vase as well, and that is one of the most prime opening frags that you can actually get for yourselves. Proctor's going to chime in with one of his own, shuts down the Legion as well elsewhere on the map, and that leaves the Coconuts in a 3v5 scenario. Now, the C7E on Jackal losing ammo is completely fine because the PDW is better, and that's where I'll end it off.
That is a hot take, my friend.
Yeah.
But, well, it doesn't really matter too much right now because it is banned, and, well, no matter what your personal preference, we're not going to see it today. King Cairo will be putting some shots through the wall onto that yellow ping, but Benji is going to be able to find another kill. Dicta and Cairo, they have a crossfire set up, but Dicta, she won't see Proctor, and right now, Cairo's able to get a trade, but, well, the Coconuts on the first round, they've cracked. Ludens pick up the first round very confidently, just finding kill after kill. Simply put, going into this, I said, well, I feel like we've got a list of just set game results already. And I'll tell you exactly how my predictions went. It went Princess, Ludens, and then Triton. Ludens, this first round has shown why. Although, it's only one round. There is a lot more on the board. For example, Coconut Crack can go there again. They can bring a Legion. They can bring different operators that impact this attack. But it seems like they've gone for something similar. Mute's being brought on the board, which wasn't there before. I think it might be a target towards the Yana, but, well, Thatcher's still in play. I mean, I don't really see much change to this cracked roster that has real potential.
No, because obviously the fundamentals don't necessarily lie within the composition that they are bringing. If we just take a look at that last round in general, each and every single gunfight that Lockdown Ludens did indeed challenge, they won it quite convincingly to the point that the Coconuts didn't even exactly know what hit them. Orca being caught out over by Base at the very, very start of the round. It's just a very unfortunate mistake, and it's something that, you know, it's an angle that you should be looking out for. Something that everybody knows at the back of their minds ever since this map was introduced 4 years ago, roughly? I really do hope that Coconut Cracked don't necessarily get a lot too greedy, because they can't necessarily afford to play greedy. They are the underdogs, arguably, between these two squads, and making those kinds of careless mistakes is something that they can't afford to do.
No, they just simply can't, and there's nothing else to really say other than that, because you hit the nail on the head, and you did it in the perfect way. Dicta is trying to hit something in the head, but it's not a nail, more like a bouncy balloon. Gady takes a little bit of damage, but nothing really that important. And Proctor is gonna just shut down Dicta's shenanigans. We'll find that opening kill, and, well, it's not Orca this time that's opening, but we're seeing these two players that you said have a huge impact. They're both getting shut down really easily. Yeah. James, the Vigil is roaming down below. They do have that Vigil, and it does say, be careful. Right now, Orca playing down in Theater has the opportunity to get a big kill, but a big one is if she gets the kill and pulls back, the mute jammer will stop that information going through, and Orca will decide to get aggressive. No, you have a mute jammer to stop these drones. Why are you getting aggressive? You will be punished for it, and Benji will find that second kill for the Ludens. Coda cracked, yet to really have an answer. Cairo, the only kill was a trade, but James able to find one for himself.
That does tip the scales ever so slightly in the favor of the Coconuts, but they're still on the back foot, arguably, being in a 3v4 scenario on Coastline. It is winnable. We have seen it actually happen from even more dire situations over the course of God knows how long. In Tier 1 and every other single platform. But Lockdown,
I know what you're talking about with that Tier 1 reference. We all know it. Yeah. It's the G2 Empire game. But Indeed. I'll let you carry on. I had to say that I knew it.
Yeah. But Lockdown Loot, oh, look at this. The frag grenade is prepped, and I believe it was caught at the very last second by an ADS, so King Cairo is able to keep his life in tow, but you shouldn't be throwing it away, going for these wide swings. You will be punished by Proctor, and that means that the Coconuts are looking a little bit worse for wear. They've got to pull off this 2v4 situation, hanging on for dear life for the next 55 seconds.
Yes, right now we're seeing JMXC stuck in a very awkward position. These Habana pellets, well, they're just going to make life even harder because you have way too many angles to look at. One of them is going to be this Aqua, and KK gets aggressive. Katie, though's the one to full press victim to it. The 5 ping will come through as well, the melee, but JMX, you don't have the opportunity to really get aggressive, and you're going to get punished. Proctor finding James, and the Ludens comfortably pick up another round. Coconut cracked, well, you're over peaking, you're getting aggressive, and you're just not having the kind of gun skill, the confidence to back it up. You're giving away a lot to the Ludens, and the Ludens are just warmer.
Yeah, they are just warmer. They're thus far 2 for 2 on their hookah attacks, and you better, well, start to think to yourself that the Coconuts, they've got to pull up another trick out of their sleeves for the time being. Revisiting hookah for the 3rd time, whether or not it may be the charm is the wrong course of action, so naturally kitchen and service is the next bomb site we're going to be visiting. King Cairo 6 picking once again off of that Valkyrie. I believe it was actually Dicta who rocked the Valkyrie last time around, so Mute is going to be stuck, and that goes hand in hand with Mozzie. Now obviously we have to discuss information just for a hot second right here, because Lockdown Ludens, despite the fact that information plays a key role in their overall strategy, and that is how they're able to actually win a couple of gunfights, we've got to beg the question as to whether or not Coconuts have the actual gunfight skills and mechanical skills to back this up, because the moment you rip away the luxury of info on the side of Lockdown Ludens, that technically means that you've got the element of surprise on your hands. But is it going to be enough? Is it going to be enough to catch Lockdown Ludens with their pants around their ankles?
It hasn't been so far. That's the biggest problem. We saw Dicta and we saw Orca on their roaming really try and put some aggression, really try and put some pep in their step. It wasn't that. It just simply got shut down very early on by Ludens. They just said, gunfight. We're going to win it. Orca tried to get aggressive, and I feel like the bullet holes all the way on the top right stairs, that was the answer. Yeah. Didn't move forward. That was not the right move to make. But that's what she did anyway. And I feel like it's Ludens, they need to rein it in. Orca, I know you just were playing it, but you're not playing ranked anymore. Kind of stepped down, and she's gonna go for a spawn peek. Looks for the head, but doesn't get Benji. That, well, I'm gonna give it to her. That's the recoil. She blames it as well immediately in chat, which is that's something I've noticed before. It's, you know, Orca, she's pretty hot in chat. She doesn't miss a beat, to be honest.
No, I mean, being at the mercy of a newly nerfed weapon, it's
missing a head though. That doesn't happen.
I mean, we did see exactly that 416 carbine. It was basically just rolling itself up the screen, and whether or not. Oh, okay. I thought for a second that Benji picked up that kill into King Cairo, but that took place elsewhere. That would have been a shot and a half over towards the player inside of luggage. But yeah, being at the mercy of a Jaeger and the recoil, which isn't looking too hot, it's not a prime position. Not exactly sure if Orca's willing to swap operator so she can actually put some fight into this matchup. It is desperately needed because, well, rocking a donut, being over 3 thus far in your opening gunfights, bit of a yikes.
On the Jaeger, which is not great, the play that you expect to see a lot of kills coming through. James, speaking of, we'll be able to make sure that Gady isn't picking up one, and that C4 will be very, very dominant in that. The sledge vertical play will take place. James looking to find another kill. It's just not there right now. And Dicta also, is set there on that donut. Krispy Kreme employee, proud employee, might I add. But she's going to have to try and find something huge on this flank. Right now, James is trying to hold this vertical angle, and it greatly benefits attackers more than defenders when you're the person on the top floor, because it's so difficult to contest looking up, whereas looking down isn't too bad. Look at this. Benji just walks away. He just gets away with it. Right now, the Ludens are applying so much pressure, they don't even care. Although KK might do in a little second. Giobu will find JMX, and now we're seeing a crossfire come through. Dicta, she's able to find her first kill of the game. James is looking for the second and third in the round. Huge stuff going to be needed from the Coconuts right now as Dicta starts to move up. Gets the Claymore, but right now you're just playing Ring Around the Rosie. Benji and Giobu, they've gone, and they're looking to collapse onto site. The vertical play back in Dicta's favor. This could be huge if you keep it. She's going to rotate away. James is holding the long angle. That's the important bit. And Benji pushes through. Will be taken down by James getting their third kill. Dicta on the flank will give you the cracked Coconuts their first round.
They had the HP advantage throughout that entire 2v2 scenario, and I was thinking to myself at the back of my mind, the moment that you actually shut down Benji with a couple of 9mm shots, you have effectively secured that entire round, and that is exactly what happened. As I stated, the fact that they were playing the information game by bringing out both the Mozzie, the Mute, as well as the Vigil as the cherry on top, effectively meant that they could maintain the surprise factor, which they were able to actually keep in tow throughout the entire duration of that round, especially when it came down to that 2v2 scenario. Both players on the side of the Coconuts, they weren't necessarily fulfilling the roles of being anchors. They were remaining as mobile as possible. And here's that shot we were talking about. That recoil has just gone sideways and diagonal to the point that it looks like some Michigan snow. Absolutely ridiculous stuff. You've got to feel for Orca. She could have gotten the opening frag, but regardless, the rest of the Coconuts were there to step it up and get the dub.
I'm gonna be fair. I am gonna say it was really cool because think about it, right? You're looking at a gun that you're used to. It hasn't changed with the recoil for so long. The last change to Jaeger was getting that 2-speed, and to be fair, that does have an impact when you're so used to it. Think if Ash's gun got so much recoil as well.
I would love
Think about the R4C with the G36 recoil. I'd be okay with it, but
yeah,
it would affect a lot of people who are used to that. Now, Coconut cracked though. They were able to win their first round on defense, and like I said before, actually, this is a map in which the attackers with the correct aggression, measured aggression, I'm going to put that little asterisk on there, they can turn this into a attacker-sided map. If you can find a kill, start compounding it, lock down the roamers very easily, there's a real opportunity on the board. Now, Coconut cracked. They want to avoid this right now. Now that Dicta doesn't actually see this player. Oh, that's nice. He has to repel and looks for the kill. That could be even bigger, but KK is able to find that kill and will shut it down. Ludens, yet again, every single round they've had that opening kill. Every single round, bar one, they've gone on to win.
I was just about to say that I personally thought that Dicta was going to be, well, effectively dead in the water regardless as to which side they opted to peek, because there was a player on the roof of the diagonal building on the northeastern side of the map next to the AC unit that was maintaining Overwatch over VIP, so the moment that Dicta did actually step out of Guitar, they would have effectively just been shot down, gunned down. But King Cairo, he's gonna gun down Giobu. That is the sole heart breacher on the side of the Ludens, meaning that, oh, well, they actually have gotten the quadruple wall over by Pool open for the time being, so Coconut Crack might not feel all too comfortable, and neither is Gady. Taking a couple 9mm shots at the torso leaves them on 50 HP, and Orca, once again, is going to be left on absolutely none. KK has been an absolute tear with that 5.52, and they aren't showing any signs of stopping.
Yeah, now, a real defender that I need to point out is just being that winning factor so far. It's gotta be James. James is down below, has that P10 Roni and the C4. King Cairo, though, making me get that attention. He's able to find a kill with that MP5 and takes away the Habana. Now, the big thing is that Yana Proctor is still there, and, well, last time we saw a standoff like this, King Cairo did not come off well. James is on the flank, though, looking to get aggressive, get a kill. Oh, God, look at this. They don't know.
They
They're
don't.
so distracted by that quad wall and applying the pressure onto JMC. They don't even notice James as he picks up Katie. Will be refragged, but that is a huge blow. A 2 versus 2. Cairo's going to pull back and play it safe. 30 seconds on the clock. Proctor finding JMC. Cairo, a slither of health, but a sliver of hope, and it's going to be ripped away by the Ludens.
I've got to feel for James right over there. He was in the prime position to strike, and strike he did, but unfortunately enough, he got caught mid-rotate out of luggage, and if he was able to actually scamper away completely unscathed, then he could have definitely been around and stuck around to make even that much more difference as the round was drawing to a conclusion. Even if he actually just chose to linger inside of luggage without rotating out of it, he would have still been another headache at the back of the Ludens' minds that they would have had to deal with. But all things considered, that is the 3rd time that the Coconuts have visited Hookah, and they have nothing to show for it for the time being. Given that each and every single time they do visit that bomb site, their performances have been looking better and better, but they have struggled to close it off. They're going to be repeating this bomb site for the 4th time out of 5 rounds, and at this certain point, I'm just starting to ask myself, why are you doing this to yourself?
It kind of worries you. Yeah, you're looking at this and cracked, well, something's not going well. Sure, Hookah Billiards, it is that go-to site for a lot of people, and there is a reason behind that, because it is a good site, and when you have a team that can defend it properly, and a team that maybe have a couple of holes in their attack, well, that's absolutely huge, but right
Ludens
now,
haven't been exhibiting any holes.
yeah, cracked. They've been the ones giving the openings onto site, and that's where Ludens give it. They've been playing aggressive. They've been playing it very, very ranked playstyles, and the simplest way to describe it. For example, every time we've seen James really come up huge and come in with these impact kills on the flank or on the clutch, it's been playing passive. It's been waiting for the Ludens to over push. That's where he's been finding the kills. Think about that jungle position with Peter and Roni.
Yeah.
Well, he got a kill as soon as somebody started pushing. He got a kill on the vertical play just by waiting, not by swinging out, trying to go for spawn peaks, playing that sunrise bar. Honestly, I want to see double bar. Like, I'll be honest, 4 times in 5 rounds, well, yeah, I want to see double bar. The hookah's just not working. Look, that's a free kill if Proctor reads into this. If you just hear that information, JMX was dead. Gonna give it a go now, but it's a little bit late, and now Orca will be opening that wall. Will be able to find her first kill. A round of applause, everybody!
Done with the Scorpio, not the 416C. Make sure to drop it because the recoil is just... Scorpion, though, might share the actual story of having terrible recoil, but it has a bit more lethality, apparently.
Yes, I feel a bit bad for calling her out with that, but still, the first kill, a huge kill. That's why Blackbeard's banned. Playing on the big window, you put so much pressure on the JMC. Those bandits, they're fine now. A frag grenade can't go through now. Cairo will be downed, and Ludens will have control of this VIP and theater area and that roof. Well, they've always had control of it. They've never gone around without it. They've been playing a very structured game, and they've been able to win because of it. But Nathan down below has an opportunity to really mess things up. You still got Ludens. They're just doing vertical play. They have half a round to play with. Only lost 1 player. This could be the win of the round for Coconut Cracked, but, well, simply put, I still see it going Ludens' way. They've got the information. That drone isn't getting shot out. They have time to work with. Most importantly, they have momentum fully behind them.
But it is starting to slowly fall off. I mean, if we take a look at exactly what is going on for the time being, a lot of them are still stuck on the roof, and they are just now beginning to formulate a plan of attack, and even when that is done, there's still the unknown factor of needing to actually win out your gunfights, and the first point of contact is going to be Orca outside or inside of Aquarium for the time being, behind that bar. ADS is also prepped at the ready, but she's going to go for the wide swing, completely unnoticed, catches KK with the pants around their ankles, and Benji is going to get the immediate trade. Now Aqua is now sternly in the grasp of the Ludens, and they can mount some kind of execution towards that billiards bomb site, but they have to deal with Dicta, who is at the top of the main staircases, now vacating that position and reinforcing the back of the bomb site. The Ludens, they're tossing all of their eggs into a single basket. It's a massive gamble that may or may not pay off. Benji, on a sliver of HP, is able to find JM, but King Cairo is going to clap back, shuts down the sledge, and he in turn will be set in the dirt. Dicta's going to find one for themselves onto Gady, and the last player alive that is Gyobu is going to be nothing but stats added to that of Dicta Coconuts. They're finally able to do good on this hookah defense after 4 attempts, and there's still 1 round left in this half to go through. They have the opportunity to tie things up and move into that split with 3 rounds apiece.
I feel like, though, if they're able to do that, well, it's going to be down on Kitchen, but yes, they won Kitchen the first time, but remember how it wasn't exactly a dominating round. It came down to that 2 versus 14, a huge win coming out from Dicta and James. They had to play together. They had to really just let Ludens take a lot of the ground so that they could win it back. Their roam game, it suffered. It didn't have an impact. They lost it very early on, even though they had the setup to try and deal with it. I mean, I'm looking at this again. I'm seeing Coconut Crack. Don't spawn peek Orca. Don't even try it, okay? Even if you've got the Lesion T5, it's something Ludens they expect. They know you. They've played against you before. They're always going to be ready for it, and we've already seen 2 very, very unsuccessful attempts at spawn peeking, so play it safe. There's information going to be given from these Valk camps. Use that. Play off of it. Have that top floor hold if need be. Take away the sledge, because if you kill Benji, if that's your opening kill, that's a really good position for the round. Then you can rely on James a lot more to really step up. And he's been doing an incredible job. He has been that consistent X factor for the Coconut Cracked. He puts the Cracked in Coconut Cracked, simply put.
Yeah.
The
There's
nutty
no better way to actually
Coconut.
put it, yeah. I had to double check that in my head, but yeah, that checks out. Pretty spot on for you. Yeah, 100%.
The one thing that actually did spelling struggles sometimes, but yeah. Well.
Yeah, it does, unfortunately. The one thing that I actually did want to touch on is that Valkyrie camera that's inside of VIP. The Ludens were utilizing VIP as their primary beachhead to execute onto the bomb side by simply exerting vertical pressure, and the fact that you've got a Valkyrie cam providing live intel as well as a couple of C4s to back it off, because I believe one has already been exhausted in the back pocket of JM. That effectively means that if the information is good and the placement of the C4 is also on the money, you can get yourself a couple of freebies onto the attackers that are pushing into VIP. But Ludens, they don't seem to be biting at the bait. They actually want to take Sunrise Bar head on, with Orca once again being the first point of contact.
Yes, now that Benji is going to be trying to have that huge impact. Benji needs to stay alive here. The frag grenade will come down, and Orca's in a horrible position. Going to get the trade, though. That's the important bit. Now, that IQ, though, has a huge potential because, well, that Valkyrie, like you said, is going to be cleared out very, very easily. Probably, that's why I've seen Val being taken away quite a bit. IQ's not as big of a pick, and yeah, Dicta's gonna take it. She's gonna be taken away by Gyobu, and well, now a 3 versus 4. One of that dynamic duo have been taken away, but James still on the board, so they're a positive KD. Cairo has a C4, like you said. 2 of them still in pocket, and the Valcams are there. But Ludens have a lot of time to work with. I think they're going to bypass that top floor. They're getting a lot of utility, and they have a Gemini to just move through. They can really just catch the Coconuts off guard by pushing through onto the side. James pulls back from the room, realizes 2 versus 3. There's no pressure on the top floor. The Valkyrie camps haven't spotted anything. Courtyard is the position to apply pressure. Oh, you hit it! Proctor taken away. James, what a naughty boy. Goes to the ring frag, takes away KK, and suddenly Coconut cracked. They have the player advantage. 40 seconds left. The Ludens, well, they've got to push through. But there's a player on the window and a player in jungle, and James is still on that roam. A huge standout player for the Coconuts, putting the nut in Coconut, actually. Now, though, needs to step up and come up huge. The Ludens, they need to stave off that 3-3, otherwise Coconut cracked. If they're allowed to wake up, well, this could all go wrong. Time ticking down. The Ludens are going to have to go for a service push. There's no time to rotate, and that's going to be JMC looking to cover it. The push comes through from Gady, but Gady's going to be taken down. Gyobu doesn't have time. You have to go for the plan. And, well, simply put, JMXC, the deagle comes through, the shot rings out and rings true. Coconut correct, we'll get a 3-3 split on their defense. And from those first couple of rounds, it really didn't seem likely.
No, it really didn't. They got off to a bit of a rough start, and if they would have potentially visited double bars as opposed to revisiting Hookah that often, it could have definitely ended better. Once again, we have got to reiterate what we said at the start of the broadcast, and we don't mean to sound like broken records, but Coconut Cracked is a team that has so much potential to succeed and to deliver each and every single week, but they haven't been able to. And this particular first half was the prime example of it. You saw how dominant they were in those last 2 rounds, to the point that it seemingly comes down to 3v2 or even 4v2 scenarios, and they're able to wind down the Ludens' clock to the point of no return. Coconuts have got so much potential, but it simply isn't being fulfilled. I'm not exactly sure if it's just because of the fact that it takes a couple of rounds for them to actually get their engines revving and for them to fully wake on up before they can put in a peak performance. But you could have easily solved or finished that first half with a 4-2 split, potentially even better.
Right, I gotta be honest now, looking at this, going into the attack, and well, take a look
Different story.
Right,
yeah.
Take a look at who's on what roles. You called out at the start of this game, right? Orca and Dicta, they were your 2 players to watch, right? They were those 2 players were the stand-up ones. They haven't been alive in the same way we've seen them in other games, and it's been down to James a lot. A lot of that energy, a lot of these round wins have been powered by him. I think only one of those 3 wins on the board, he wasn't explicit in creating that. That's a big thing, because you need to have somebody other than just James alive. A lot of teams focus on having 2 really good fraggers, or even 3. Because if one of them's not awake, then, well, the rest can pick up the slack. Right now, James is trying to fill ground for both of them. He's got the same amount of kills as the 2 of them combined, actually, which only furthers my point. Orca and Dicta need to wake up. Simply put, it's something you cited, it's something I'm going to cite now. James, you're doing a great job, but it's a team game. You can only do so much at the end of the day.
True. And I'm not exactly sure if swapping out rules like that is something that the Coconuts are willing to actually throw on out, because potentially setting James on either the role of an Ashe or a Zofia could essentially solidify much more confident victories for the Coconuts, but if Orca doesn't deliver on these entries, then Coconuts are going to be in a really, really rough position to try to at least force us to overtime. Gady is the first to be rewarded with the opening frag onto JM. Orca's going to clap back, though, however, practically in record time and shut down Proctor. James is ready to receive Gady inside of VIP, and just like that, in the blink of an eye, it's a 4v3 situation that may actually be converted into an even playing field if Benji manages to pick up King Cairo, but fortunately enough, they don't have the element of surprise on their side anymore. Wow. And now Benji is a known factor, and there are 2 players on the side of the Coconuts creeping in towards his live location. Dicta is going to pick up Benji, and just like that, the Ludens are looking a little bit worse for wear.
Yes, Orca and Dicta, they've both got a kill on the board now, and they're starting to step up, but Jobu, with the pixels, able to pick off Dicta. Now it's all going to be down to Orca to really drive this charge. One air jab will be knocked off, and Jobu's aware. Okay, someone triggered an air jab. Who triggered the air jab?
I do not know.
The Wamai pellet triggered it, and because of that, well, simply put, Jobu realized nobody's there. The Wamai pellet did that. That's a little bit of information that's given away from it. James, though, is going to have to get on the refrag as Jobu picks off Orca. But KK's now with the crossfire. The pixel shot's able to land it. It's all down to Cairo yet again for the 2nd time this game. And he needs to step up huge. He has got those air jabs, they have been placed down, but they know because of that Wamai palette. Those Wompings, they're coming through. There's free information on this default camera that Cairo doesn't want to shoot. He doesn't want to let them know that he's there. And in doing so, well, he consigns himself to possibly a fate worse than death. That's going to be put in a very awkward position in a 1 versus 2. Looking for the first kill. Looks away from KK at the right second. Flicks back, though, and gets him. You have to find his kill. But Giobu's got the shotgun. The Leisure Mind's got the damage. And the round goes to the Ludens.
That was probably one of the most disheartening things that King Cairo could have gone through. And I'm pretty sure you've come across those memes way back in the day when the Lion, Dokkaebi, and Jackal meta was still active, and it's basically just that you're playing as a defender.
I
You've got
lived
like a
that.
bunch
What do you
of
mean memes?
yeah.
I lived in that.
I
dude.
lived
Come on.
through that as well, and there's just a bunch of stuff that is being
Right.
thrown all over your UI to the point that
Dude.
you should be moving and can't be moving. King Cairo must have been feeling the exact same thing because time was not on his side, diffuser was dropped, he had to go for frags, and he had a goo mine stuck in his ankle. It was rough.
And a smoke. Let's also point that out. A smoke was there as well. That forced him to go on the left side. He didn't have the HP to push through, especially with a goo mine. He had to push through. He had to take a fight with KK. Won it out very nicely, but then had to keep swinging. You didn't have time to pull it out. As soon as that audio cue comes through, the shotgun swings. The shotgun kills. At that range, it doesn't miss. Huge effort from there, and I'm getting a few flashbacks now that you brought out that meta. And
It is PTSD inducing. I know.
I'm gonna free myself from this just by reminding a couple of people, our observer most importantly, because I remember we played the game around about this time as well. We started around about a similar time after that open beta.
Yeah.
Spawn peeking was very difficult. Because when you open a window 2 doors, you stare into the face of God. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm just gonna leave that little tidbit. But
you know what I'm gonna leave instead for you, and this is something that this is something that you may have come across a couple of times as well. Way back in the day, the way to actually spawn peek wasn't actually simply with a gun. You would pick up a pulse and you would manage to glitch yourself outside of the map, go to attacker spawn, and just drop down a C4 and boom, you've got an ace the moment that the round has commenced with a single second. That's how bad it was back in the day.
Especially on house. However, we're not on house. We're on club. Clubhouse? No, we're on coast.
No, we're not on club.
We're on coast. Right, I got confused between penthouse because I wanted to say penthouse, but then we weren't on penthouse. I was like,
that would have been a cool transition, though.
Yeah, that really would have. You know, I think we should have been a clubhouse. I'm going to say it right now, though. Coconut Crack, they know that they're not. The drone work's coming through onto Billiards. They're looking to push out Proctor. Another drone will come through, but Orca just goes to sleep. Taken away by Proctor, who's able to find another one. James has to get him with that yellow ping through the wall, and I think that just goes to show the Ludens. That's what you're going up against when you play them. Look at that.
The roaming mute is not something that you see all too often, and you don't see it work to this level of success either. Shutting down arguably two of the most important players on the side of the Coconuts is absolutely massive. Taking them to the grave along you as well before you're put in the dirt yourself is absolutely stellar stuff on the side of the Ludens. And this is also a lot of vertical pressure or a lot of soft breach potential now stripped away from the Coconuts. That is effectively the ideal way to essentially solidify success for yourself if you're in the shoes of the Ludens. I personally don't see a real manner in which they can lose out on this round anymore.
No, I mean, the big thing is, well, we've said it before and we'll say it again, the broken record continues to play. James has got to clean up. James has got a huge task ahead of him. The vertical play is the first step on that long, long road. But Benji's going to clean up with a C4. That information coming through. They didn't even have a valve camera. Just very nicely worked out. King Cairo looking to get something, but just can't right now. Trying to get through the vertical holes will take quite a bit of damage from Benji, I believe. You're trying to get this utility, but you're going to open up stock. Benji pushes into bathroom, yes. But you realize you got another little pebble on that long road, and you're running barefoot, and, well, simply put, these pebbles are sharp. As I believe Wicket says, it's the death of 1,000 paper cuts, the game of Siege. And while this Alder, it's about to become a bit more than a paper. One smoke canister goes through, but the push has to follow. Benji finds one kill onto JMXC. An air jab will go off, so KK's there, but the distraction! KK finds the kill, but even if he didn't, Cairo, well, he just wasn't gonna get it.
No, he simply wasn't, and he certainly had time to do it as well. Or essentially having, you know, a clay pigeon to shoot at that just triggered an air jab. You'd think that you walk away with that kill just to pad stats. There was realistically no way for the Coconuts to shut down that particular 2v3 scenario. Time was on their side. They were basically engulfed in smokes, and as I said, the fact that Proctor got those 2 impact kills on both Orca and Dicta effectively solidified their round victory, and as such, Lockdown Ludens, they've now extended the gap to 2 whole rounds on their defense, and they're going to be visiting double bars in an attempt to, well, close off a successful side rotation this time around. The Lockdown Ludens, they have turned over a new leaf. They were tired of being kicked around at the end of that first half, and now they're doing the kicking themselves. They're starting to run away with Coastline.
Yeah, I'll explain why. Simply put, the Ludens, they know what they need to do. They have said, right, an aggressive side on Coastline attacks and wins. We need to shut that down. That's how we won, and shutting it down is how we're going to win this defensive half. Coconut Crack, they paid a heavy price for every little bit of map control they've gotten. Think about it. They take Proctor out the picture, they've lost their entries. That's a huge, huge play coming up from Ludens. As soon as James gets that kill, moves into VIP, starts doing vertical play, they lose James. Suddenly it's down to JMXC and King Cairo. 2 of those players that shouldn't be in that position, well, suddenly they are. They're trying to make something work, and it's just Ludens. They realize that they can make Coconut Crack pay for literally every single thing that they do. This is it. Proctor's going to take a little bit of damage. James is able to find that shot, and Proctor will put a few bullets through that, understandably. A bit annoyed that he's taking the damage, but not going to land the kill. All you've got to do is make them feel pressure. That's the important bit. And, well, Coconut Crack, they seem to be very careful pushing in. Benji takes some damage from the roof. We'll pull back a little bit. Doesn't really matter. The longer that you spend here and make Coconut Crack look towards you, the worse it's going to get. Benji's going to take some damage. Dicta's not going to land the shots, and somebody is going to shoot from hookah balcony, but somebody is going to miss. Benji realizes you're pretty much playing your life at this point. C4's ready to go up that drone hole and can do something huge. But not before Proctor falls to King Cairo. Realizes to Benji, well, you're stuck in this aqua area. You need to take the gunfight. King Cairo is going to have to push through. The drone thing gets taken away. The C4 goes through. But Benji will be taken out by King Cairo, finding a second kill. And now that top floor. It only took a minute, but that top floor has fallen in favor of the attackers. This is a real strong round for them, but you've got to remember, Ludens, as soon as this round is over, no matter whether they win or lose, they're right back to hookah. They're going to start moving through and have to deal with this vertical play.
I'm starting to question the decision-making on the side of the Ludens. Like, don't get me wrong, going out for a roam, especially on a double bars defense on the top floor, it does make sense, but they had basically nothing to reinforce that. No utility, no hard walls. They had nothing except for their bare naked selves as well as their weapons to try to hold on for as long as possible. They were effectively on a suicide mission, and it simply did not pay off. All they actually had to show for it was roughly 40 points worth of damage onto King Cairo, and that doesn't win you rounds. The Coconuts, they're still firmly in the driver's seat, despite the fact that there's only 50 seconds left to work with. That is considered an eternity when you're in a 5v3 scenario in the Lockdown Ludens. Well, all 3 members have been relegated to playing inside of the bomb site, with the sole exception of, I believe that is KK, off on the roam inside of that service entrance, and he's not necessarily in the prime position to strike either, because nobody on the side of the Coconuts is actually taking the bait for the time being. But at the very least, they're going to bait out some of those toxic babe canisters, to which there are still 2 left in the back pocket of Giobu. But look at this, Orca decides to just leg it and get that diffuser down, trying to stick it, and it's going to be confirmed momentarily. Pokeballs aren't going to deal enough damage, and it's a 5v3 post plan that the Ludens may not be able to get out of. Gady is the first to fall, leaving KK and Giobu in a 2v5 scenario to clutch up big time, and KK is going to kick things off as time continues to drain away. KK is the next to fall, leaving Giobu with the SMG-11 in his hands to pull off some heroics. Walking in towards jungle, can't gather any information. It doesn't have a melon to shoot at, but instead his melon is going to be cleaved straight off his shoulders, all thanks to Orca. And that was the convincing round that we were looking for the Coconuts to finally show us this time around. Just one more round left to go before they can tie up the scoreline.
A beautiful bit of siege play and a beautiful bit of casting to go alongside with it, but the only criticism I need to make, not a melon to shoot. It was right there, dude. Not a coconut to shoot.
Ah.
It was...
Gosh darn it.
Next time.
Ah!
But, right, huge coming out from Coconut Crack, because, like you said,
You've
they
rattled
dealt with
me.
that top floor. Yeah, I have. I mean...
I'm retiring after this cast. That's it.
It's all over. We did it, boys. Whip it is mine. But... let's get back to the round at hand. Coconut Crack, they got the top floor control, and in doing so realized something very, very important. If you have that top floor control, the blue side push becomes so much stronger. You have what we saw from Ludens with that time being wasted down was 2 in Sunrise and 1 in Kitchen. They couldn't push out. You had a player watching that main lobby, so they couldn't have that control from the window. Then you had players on the doorway. You had people making sure that if Ludens were going to peek and contest Orca, that was it. Now, if James was wanting to not play in the courtyard and wait for that push coming through from Jobu, well, he could have just played in Aqua. Yeah. If we saw the Coconut Cracked want to open up that office wall in Blue, they could have just played above. It would have been a very simple post plan. Think about when you're trying to clutch up. Simply put, you're trying to clutch up. You're winning out all your gunfights, but there's one person, they have vertical control, and staircases, they're not near. Like, they're nowhere near for where you need to be to deal with this, and you don't have enough time. Simply put, that's the situation Jobu found himself in, and even if Orca didn't get the kill, I think Jobu would have gone around the courtyard. James would have got the kill from there. Now, Ludens, like you said, this is the must-win round. 1 round away from closing things off and at least getting match point. But 1 round away from giving Coconut Crack that even scoreline. This is where we need to see Ludens starting to play a little bit safer, a little less aggressive, and I feel like the roam game, that's where the change really needs to start.
Yeah, indeed it does, and the main reason why I did point out why the roam game was so drastic in the previous round is because they had very little utility to actually back it up and reinforce the roamers, make them actually do, or help them do their job properly. But now that we have changed bomb sites, the other portions of the map where the roam game indeed is present, it's just a tad bit safer to actually play off of because there is an abundance of cover that you can actually stand behind, and it's much easier to control those portions of the map compared to hookah and billiards. And speaking of hookah and billiards, well, the attackers, they've already waltzed their way onto the bomb sites, and King Cairo, he can just stick the diffuser right over here, but he's going to be flushed out by some Toxic Babe gas. Don't get caught in the doorway because you are going to be left a little bit worse for wear, and now that KK has indeed shut you down, well, your teammates are going to have to pick up the slack this time around, and that's exactly what JM and Orca are able to accomplish. It's a 4v3 scenario that has been converted from all 10 players alive in the lobby, and now we've only got 6 remaining as Orca has been dealt with thanks to a C4 lobbed out from Benji, the repel from James that does bear fruit. Proctor is the next to fall, and now, well, the Coconuts, they do maintain the man advantage. They have time on their side so they can recover the diffuser and get back to where they left off, sticking it and forcing us into a post plan.
Yes, right now a minute is on the clock. Giobu holding this conscious position has that power area because look at it, simply put, the Valkyrie is information going around. Proctor, a huge effort to slow down Orca, most importantly, distract them, don't let them get the plant down, King Cairo being taken away. Well, simply put, that plant, it's very unlikely that diffuser's down. They know about the player in VIP. Giobu, you play it tight and you play for a pixel, but the Aqua, that's going to get the diffuser picked up. That's going to be JMNC ready to push through. The smoke canister will be prepped, but won't be stuck. That's going to be a shot going through. And that's going to be Benji able to find James. The big window player is taken away. Right now, JMXC can't be kept in, has to play it very safe as Jobu will find Dicta. Dicta playing in VIP cannot cover a swing. JMC needs to go on the attack, but he just can't do it. Jobu with the shotgun. I've said it before, I'll say it again. The shotgun doesn't miss at that range.
No, it simply doesn't, and I've got to say that in my mind alone, the Lockdown Ludens squad had absolutely no business winning that round whatsoever because the Coconuts were actually set up so pitch perfectly, and the main reason why I'm saying that, A, they had the man advantage. It was a 3v2 scenario. I didn't exactly catch where the other 2 players aside from JM were actually located, but I can only assume that, well, one of them was inside of VIP and the other person must have been elsewhere over by Hookah. And the main reason why they set themselves up so perfectly for success is they were able to provide coverage over towards JM, who was getting that diffuser stuck. The player inside of VIP could effectively cut off the entire line of sight towards the back of the bar. So in case if Giobu playing that smoke did actually choose to push on out, they would have been a dead man. But the player inside of VIP was shut down after they actually had an angle onto the smoke canister that was being tossed out to initially deny the diffuser as it was being stunned. That is something that I personally haven't seen in my entire life thus far. The VIP angle created by those Excalibur pellets or Selmas, what have you, being utilized to shoot out a smoke canister before it's detonated by the defensive smoke. That was brilliant on the side of Coconuts. You effectively have bought yourself an extra 15 seconds worth of time that you don't have to waste by walking back into Aquarium and then trying to stick the diffuser once again. They set themselves up for success, but it crumbled. And that's what's so disheartening to me.
That's the big thing. Like, I look at that and I see these smoke canisters. Well, maybe if Dicta was there before, it would have had more of an impact. Because, simply put, they had that positioning before. Proctor will be able to find King Cairo in a huge kill. You've taken away the Nomad on a kitchen defense. All I'm saying is, right, King Cairo being the first to fall again, it's because Coconut Crack, they had the positioning ready. The smoke canister was there, but there was pressure put on luggage. In doing so, that meant Cairo couldn't cover the push going out from the planter, and that's where things started to stall down. Orca was unable to get that plant, unable to win a gunfight onto KK, and right now, well, they're struggling quite a bit more. Ludens, 1 kill on the board so far. They only need 4 more. Not a big task to ask when you look at the KDs. 2 players on double digits, whereas Coconut Cracked, or 3 players, sorry, double digits, was Coconut Cracked. Well, they've only got the 1. That's been James, and, well, he's been a huge impact player. I've said it before. And it's something that I'm not going to change my stance on. It's a team game. You can't be doing all the work alone. Ludens, though, they will be stopping James and Orca from getting into Sunrise, making them waste a lot of time to get there, but Orca starts to ramp things up. We'll find Proctor, and we'll find the kill onto the mid, but the jammers are down to C4. Well, it's not as big of a loss as you'd think. That couches area has now been taken, and, well, you have cool vibes. You have couches. Well, okay, what do? Where next? You got to think, do you want to push onto site with a minute and a half? You'd think the vertical play would be coming through, but no, James is just wanting to hold this angle. I think it's going to be a kitchen push.
Yeah, sooner or later, the Coconuts are going to realize that almost the entire map is entirely clear, because I'm sure a lot of you guys have already noticed that the Ludens, they've been relegated to playing from inside of the bomb site. They are all anchoring up, they are all turtling up as per their team mascot. Completely fine, but doing it that early is rather questionable. You're basically just gifting the Coconuts so much free real estate that they can now do with as they see fit. They're going to begin to start exerting some vertical pressure. Let's see if that frag grenade is indeed going to hit. It's going to deal a boatload of damage to Gady, but they're allowed to persist for another 40 seconds, the very least, or the maximum, I should say. And now, well, we're starting to approach the business end of the round as the Coconuts. They've got to amp things up, and they've got to finally make their move. Orca's going to start things off by shooting out Benji, who was over by the sink, a rather exposed and questionable area to sit in, and now KK is looking to shut down Orca for their past crimes, but can't land the shots for the time being. From up above, we have got Dicta just raining hellfire upon Giobu, and the buckshot is going to miss. The Zofia will finally be laid to rest, all thanks to Giobu. And there comes KK with the wide swing. We've hit mission critical. 7 seconds left to play with, and the push has to come in through. James finds the first, but he's left all on his lonesome. And as we hit 000, the diffuser, it has to go down, but the Ludens, they know that the jig is up. This is GG, ladies and gentlemen, and they have successfully taken 3 more points home.
Yes, and in doing so, putting themselves above Triton for now. That's going to be our 3rd game. A huge performance from the Ludens, and I feel there was a couple of shaky rounds in there where Coconut Cracked were the better team. Overall, I feel like the last round we saw, the penultimate one on Hookah, sure, that was great. That was huge, okay? That wasn't it, though. We needed to see that more often. But Ludens was still able to break it apart, and that's because Coconut Cracked, they had all the pieces in play. They were just waiting to move, and I feel like that's where Ludens really excelled, is they put so much pressure. They weren't ready to push. They didn't have control of that actual luggage area. And look at that KD. 11, 2 players 11 and 8, 2 players 10 and 8. And one just sat there very comfortably on the support role saying, I think I've done my job. They can't frag without me. Very, very nicely done from them, but Coconut Cracked, I feel like this is another example of where the scoreline doesn't necessarily reflect the game. The first half, definitely. because they
Yeah.
had a huge effort to bring it back, and they struggled at the start. So 3-3, that balances it quite nicely for me. But overall, in the second half, it got a lot closer. There were rounds where it just swung back and forth in the pendulum, in my opinion. But yet again, we're going to see Coconut Crack deliver a good game, but no tangible results, I'm afraid.
No, sadly, they can't even get themselves a point by forcing us to overtime, so they are once again going to be sitting on 9th place, and I think that technically solidifies their stance for the rest of Season 2 as well. And that does mean that Lockdown Ludens, they now propel themselves all the way to spot numero dos within the standings, comfortably sat, or at least temporarily. They should feel comfortable at roughly, well, exactly 15 points. The next match that we have got coming up after a short little break is going to be Team Trident. They're going to be facing up against, if I'm not mistaken, the Chimp Hunters. And that is going to be an exciting matchup because these two squads, they are, if I'm not mistaken, sat on not equal points. Team Trident on 12 and Chimp Hunters on 10. Now, this is an important matchup for Team Trident. They got to get the dub. They got to get themselves 3 points, boost themselves up to 15 total to still make it to that top 4. We're going to return after a short little break and bring you guys the final matchup of Playday number 13, week number 7, right here at the BUAL All-Stars in just a couple of minutes. See you soon.
Hello, ladies.
And gentlemen.
Dramatic effect. You never heard of it, Tudors? Oh well, it's fine. Welcome back to the Badass University All-Stars. We've just seen Coconut Crack losing out to Lockdown Ludens, who gave a really strong display and cemented themselves as one of the stronger teams. Definitely those higher level teams when you look at all the teams on the board so far. They've given themselves 15 points. They're currently sat in that second position spot, but there's another team on the board that we're about to watch that have the potential to join them.
Yeah, that is entirely true. Our next and final matchup for tonight is going to be Team Trident going up against Chimp Hunters. And both of these two squads, they've got a really, really realistic shot at actually making top 4. If Chimp Hunters are actually able to get themselves 3 points from Team Trident, they're going to overtake them. They're going to inherit that 5th spot. And depending on how good their round differential is, and if Randy Ravens actually lose their next matchup tomorrow, then they're going to drop. But that's, hypothetically speaking, it could happen in an alternate universe. As you said, Team Trident, they are indeed the favorites moving into this matchup. And speaking of Team Trident, as well as Chimp Hunters, let's go ahead and get to know the players that are going to be forming up the server this evening.
Yeah, now, I already have quite a bit of bias towards both of these teams. Now, that's why I think I'm actually quite balanced, Tudors. It's kind of like Dota, right? Everything's overpowered, so nothing's overpowered, if it makes sense.
True.
It's kind of like a little catch-22 with it. Like, I know a lot of people on pretty much all the rosters to the point where I'm biased towards all of them. It doesn't really make sense. But you look at Team Triton, they've been a really strong team and a lot of fragging potential on the board. You look at that, you got Replay, Octagon, Sardine, Matems, Majer. Majer with that goddamn Yukon 2 experience. It goes so far away. It goes so far for you. And even in Qualifier in Epic Land 31, Majer with Flight Esports stepped up huge. Yeah. Matems is just somebody who's come in really, really strong for Team Triton and has consistently been a really good core of the team, like a nice backbone. Sardine and Octagon. I know Sardine says he's on University of Kent, and he is, don't get me wrong, but not to me, not in my heart, because Sardine, he was down in Cardiff University last year, and we played together on the first team. Octagon, he's been playing on the first team this year, and both of these players have been absolutely incredible. Chimp Hunters, however, we're looking at Where Is Most, and Downos, Atlantic, Angelo, and Bullet. All of these players, incredible performers on the battlefield. They have great aim. They have a lot of competitive experience together when you look at these lineups. You know, Angelo, he's been part of the famed End.GG roster. That's, pretty damn impressive. Played with Xerxes, Scipio. These players, all 10 in the lobby, know how to play competitive Siege.
Indeed, they all do. It's going to be quite the cracker of a matchup. This is, as we said at the start of the evening, that this is most likely going to be one of the main highlights, one of the best matches to actually look forward to tonight. And with that being said, I really, really want to know which map we'll be visiting. I got a sneaking suspicion that it's going to be something a bit more abnormal than what we have seen previously. So autobans coming on through. Going to be Cafe and Villa. They won't see the light of day, and neither will Consulate or Clubhouse and Coastline, I should say. That leaves 2 Cs available, both Chalet and Consulate to be visited. And as the next round is coming on through, it's indeed going to be Consulate as our decider. So I'm personally really, really hyped for this one. A lot of diversity in maps tonight, and it's, in my eyes, the perfect map to end off the Playday.
Yeah, I feel like as well, because you talked a lot about it, and we're just going to have a couple of seconds to discuss this, but you talked a lot about this before, purely because, Tudors, it's so different. And when you think about these very aggressive, frag-heavy maps like Coastline and Consulate, which do definitely go together very nicely, it's always Coastline that gets seen more often because there's a lot less dependence on strats, vertical place, site setup. Consulate is a map where you can get very aggressive, you can win out gunfights, but teams don't really want to take towards it. Chimp Hunters, though, this is quite interesting. Chimp Hunters, they played this before. They played against Coconut Cracked, who we just seen. Chimp Hunters beat them out in their first Playday, I do believe. Yeah. Triton, I'm not sure if we've seen them on Consulate yet, but I feel like
so, no.
They're gonna know how to play it. All the teams on here, they know how to play T4 Siege. They've all been there before. They've either done Uni League or they've been on teams. Either way, they know what to expect when they go in. And Consulate, it's going to be incredible.
Yeah, it surely is. I'm quickly going through the past records, and I'm pretty sure that Team Trident have yet to actually visit Consulate. throughout season 2, but Chimp Hunters, they are technically speaking much more well versed, so it's not technically speaking uncharted territory for them. The last time that they actually did play Consulate in recent memory was against the Froggers. That particular matchup was on Consulate, and they unfortunately did lose it out in overtime 6-8. I don't exactly remember if that was a matchup that I did end up casting with Jerry. I'm pretty sure it was, because we did cast Team Trident versus the Minutemen on Villa prior to that on Tuesday. That was way back at the start of April, so it's like roughly a month ago, but that was one of the most exciting matchups on Consulate that I did have the privilege to cast, and I'm pretty sure, and I've got my fingers crossed, that Chimp Hunter's going to be able to live up to that exact same level of magic, that exact same beauty of Siege gameplay that they did show us a couple of weeks back. So, personally, I think this particular matchup is going to end off with a bang, whether or not we do actually get to see overtime.
Yes, I feel like while I lean towards Triton and I look at them as being the stronger team going into this, I feel like this is the most balanced of all the matchups we have today, and the scoreline definitely reflects it. You've only got to beat them, 7-4. Triton on the attack. The bans have definitely gone their way when you think about it in terms of being able to get this wall open and deal with a lot of utility. Maverick is still on the wall. Thatcher's gone, which means yes, you can't just Thatcher that main lobby door and walk in. But that was never going to happen anyway when you think about like an Echo who is on the board, or a Maestro playing in that bathroom area. The mirror being taken away, that's a huge ban for the attackers, simply because mirror on Consulate, if that mirror's not on the board, suddenly that Archive Teller's site, which has seen a much, much higher pick rate, that doesn't get picked as much. And that's because a lot of that site setup depends upon that mirror having that position in Harry Potter looking towards the cafe. And then having one on that little storage wall, you open up a line of sight, you get eyes onto Spiral. You have really good sight lines to shut down. You can cover your team, who are then all sat with a C4 with the Pulse. Hopefully Pulse game of 3ing, but you never get what you want every single time. That mirror
did happen yesterday, though.
And the Valkyrie is as well. Because that Valkyrie, we always talk about a Valkyrie ban because she's been banned so much more when teams have that free ban on the board. It's simply put, teams don't bring an IQ as much. So the Valkyrie becomes a lot stronger because it's a lot harder to spot.
Yeah. I'm taking a look at everything that we have seen thus far, all the way from the operator bans to the operator composition that Team Trident have opted to start off with, and I think we're going to see only one kind of Consulate play this evening, and that is going to be relatively standardized. We're not necessarily going to be moving to the split bomb side of Tellers and Archives, because the operator lineup and the bans that did put on through doesn't exactly warrant that. As you said, Mirror is a pivotal part about defending Archives because of the position inside of Harry Potter, so I doubt that the Chimp Hunters are going to visit Archives and Tellers, and given the fact that Nomad is on the playing field as well, means that the Chimp Hunters starting off on the defense, and the defense in general, they're not necessarily going to feel all too comfortable with actually going for runouts and jump outs. They'll be limited to actually playing inside of the building. And that technically means that the lobby and press room also becomes that much more difficult to defend when you're going for high risk, high reward plays. So primarily, we're going to be seeing a lot of basement. We're going to be seeing a lot of that top floor as well. And in the event that some of the defensive rounds actually are won back-to-back on both the top floor as well as the basement, then we might get one of these tertiary bomb sites in play. But we'll have to wait and see. For the time being, though, it is basement. And, actually, no. Is it basement or is it lobby? I can't tell through the silhouettes. It is indeed basement, yeah, indeed. And Team Trident, they're starting off with an admin take, clearing out each and every single nook and cranny of the map because, it is quite the big one. Gotta do it.
Yeah, this makes sense purely because they're taking control, they're not worrying about flanks, because they don't have a Nomad on the lineup. Well, they do, actually, but they don't have that much kind of time to set it down and then be like, okay, there's a lot of vertical angles that can be used in with this operators, and moving forward, Replay and Angela, they're going to have to fight each other, and we're going to see the sledge coming in on Sardine. Realistically, having a Nomad committing a lot of time is something you do passively. You can't really just get in piano. There's vert from above and below, and that's very much a story of this map. There's vert from above and below that can really do dividends. Now, Angela, yeah, Angelo is trying to get up to the top of this bathroom. This gives him an incredible angle to see things from. Angelo needs to stay alive. If Angelo dies, suddenly piano opens up. That breach, it opens. The K-Claw's gone. And then Triton. They have an approach onto site. The Nomad charges go down. The flashbangs follow. It all opens up for Triton as soon as Angelo dies. Being pushed into the bathroom, well, you're looking at a Wolf boxed in with nowhere to go. The flashbang's gonna come through first, though, and Replay keeps on getting ready to push. I think they're just letting him wait here, but no. Replay's gonna move in, goes for the swing, but doesn't see him. Angelo's able to find that kill. Looks for a second one and can't land it, but there was somebody else there ready to deal upon it. Sandanos finds Octagon, runs away and gets away almost scot-free, but it's gonna be Sardine punishing them for it. 35 seconds down on the clock in Chimp Hunters. An incredible effort at wasting time, but the breach is now open. The bathroom is now in control of the attackers, and the defenders, they are going to have to fend off this attack. But the lineup they've got, SK has taken away, is still a good one to use. Jaeger and Maestro look to fend off the Sledge, Ace, and Nomad. Plant will start to go down. The Evil Eye will be taken away, but still, Maytum's on the yellow stairs can cover. There's another. Oh, that's huge. It's going to waste the time. He's going to have to stick it. The push is going to come through the pre-fire from Atlantic Adam. He's pushed off, and Chimp Hunters win it. Oh my lord, what an incredible use of that Maestro camera. Just making life so goddamn horrible for the attackers that they just couldn't think about sticking it.
Throughout the entire sort of dying seconds of the round, I believe it was who was sticking the plant? It was Maytums, right? On the Ace, or it was MJR. Remind me quickly.
It was Majer who was MJR.
It was Majer. Okay, that's yeah, MJR. They went for 3 different plant attempts, and each and every single time they fell off of it because they were taking 5 points worth of damage each and every single tick from that Evil Eye. They could have easily stuck that plant, and we would have seen a Team Triton round. Chimp Hunters had absolutely no business winning that round whatsoever, and I hate to actually bring out the critic in me, but I gotta do it because that round was played so sloppily from both sides, and I desperately need to address this. The bathroom hold. What on earth was going on there? You're sending Sandanos in on a suicide mission. They can't even rotate through the hatch as per usual. You don't have any of the bathroom walls reinforced whatsoever. You're not even playing a mute with a shoddy up close with mute jammers to back you up. All you've got to work with is an MP5, and that's it. You are effectively dead in the water the moment the T-Trident actually wake up and know what they were doing. But they didn't. They didn't. The entire bathroom was soft. You had an Ashe, you had a Zofia, you had even a Sledge. You could have breached open any single angle on the triple wall, and then boom, Sandanos turns into a sitting duck, which by the way he already was. But instead, we didn't see any of that. We saw flashes be thrown on through, and they brute forced their way directly into Sandanos, who by the way was able to take 1 player along to the grave with him. And Team Trident were so preoccupied with all of the chaos that was going on over by bathroom that, no, excuse me, it was Sandanos who was playing on the Legion that was able to actually slip through into main lobby by circle desk and pick off an extra player. That round was about as mind-boggling as it got, and Chimp Hunter still walked away with it because of why? Because of the fact that the diffuser wasn't stuck. It was so poorly played from both squads that I don't think any team should have walked away with the round, to be fair.
Yes, it was very, very difficult, but Sardine going to be able to down Atlantic, playing a little bit aggressive in this bathroom area. The Printer, actually. The big thing is right now is that Replay is going to push on through, and because of this, a huge opening onto site. Sardine will cover the angle onto Venom Machine. This wall being soft means that Angelo's going to take some damage, but takes one to the grave, like you said. Just like in that bathroom, Majer will find a refrag, and right now Triton, a player advantage, but Bullet holding this very aggressively. It knows that there's somebody there. A lot of utility just got cleared, and the wall and Visa just got opened up. But Bullet, you just hold it, play it safe. You just wait there. You just chill. You hold the angle simply because you know that there's only one way that they can come through. Sandanos is covering long, and Mo has that cover for you as well. This is a very nice crossfire from Chunters. They're waiting. They're holding it down. Replay is looking to try and get utility off of this meeting wall. A minute 23 on the clock. You have Majer to get it open. But I want to see somebody... Yeah, but that's the thing. That air jab will go through. He won't be able to get that mute jammer with that Ashe charge. But you can get somebody on the window. You can put the pressure onto Zook, onto Bullet, push through. Sandanos, well, he's going to get covered. He's going to have to try and cover that angle. Will drop down and Replay will be jumping out. Sandanos is ready and waiting. There's a replay. Will repel down, holding that spiral. It's a huge position to hold. Bullet is going to be realizing the push is coming as Matems puts the flashbangs through. Replay catches Sandanos on the roam. And now it's all down to Mo and Bullet. They're watching the same angle. Bullet, you can look towards that meeting. Mo has got you covered and will be winning this gunfight if Chunters really deserve to win this round. Matems pushing up, just waiting. You're ready, so ready to push, and there it is. The first beat comes through. Mo's gonna get taken away by Octagon with a long shot, but Bullet's able to find Matems. The push comes through, and Majere gets that double peek with a refrag. Triton will win their attacking round on the top floor. But yet again, that was a lot shaky from the defense. You know, something else could have happened, and the attack as well. I feel like we saw Triton start to stall out. There was a lot of potential if Chimp Hunters coordinated on where they were looking. That could have saved life so much easier.
Yeah, life could have definitely been easier, especially on the side of Team Triton, but the fact that they were actually able to close off that round so decisively in a 4v2 scenario, I'm starting to actually feel much more confident in their abilities to just run away with the stacking side. Obviously, that first round onto the basement, it was a bit like your first pancake, is usually a throwaway from the batch, so I can't forgive Team Triton for what happened in that first round and how they went about dealing with the bathroom hold as well as the execution. Round number 2 was much more solid. They realized exactly what obstacles they had to encounter and which obstacles they had to overcome. And the one thing that was a bit questionable though was Octagon. He went for the wide swing at the top of Visa stairs into the player inside a projector, but he wasn't actually aiming for the player behind the desk. He actually wanted to get that mute jammer shot so the Selma charges could indeed blow up. It was a bit questionable. He could have potentially gotten a freebie as well, but luckily he kept his life in tow, and then it was just an utter collapse on the side of Chimp Hunters, and their defenders were starting to actually be swatted down simply like flies. It was a 4v4 scenario. It was a good old-fashioned Mexican standoff, but that didn't last for long. Something on the side of Chimp Hunters just unfortunately snapped, and it just collapsed, and I personally didn't catch it on camera exactly where all of the action did indeed take place, but I can only assume that they were unnecessarily exposing themselves, and Team Triton were only just holding angles. They were building up to the execution.
It was essentially centered around that meeting area. Mo was holding an angle over towards that Visa stairs door, where we saw Bullet also holding the angle. And because of this, well, Octagon pushed down main lobby, I think, and that long desk, and saw him and just got the kill. Mo wasn't looking and got caught lacking. Right now, Bullet's trying to catch somebody else, though. Just spots the Zephyr, but, well, Octagon. If there's one thing I've learned from playing with him, it's he doesn't miss shots like that. Does a lot of damage to Atlantic as well, proving he doesn't miss. Atlantic, yet again, takes a lot of damage and just pulls back. Just play it safe. Just wait, because while this admin, it's a position you're never going to hold for long. If you do commit a player to it, they'll get a kill, and then they'll probably be pulled back, unless something huge is about to happen. Sardine, yet again, is going to be taking his printer line of sight, and Majere's immediately getting to work with this Nomad player. Doesn't know about Sandanos down below. We'll go on the camera, and there's the C4 being ripped. It's going to find that kill. It's going to take away the Nomad, and, well, Majere's not going to be very happy about that. Regardless, though, Triton, they're going to be able to keep on moving through. A frag grenade will start to clear utility, and Sardine's going to try and get this mute jammer, but it's just a little bit too far away. It's going to force exposing himself. And doing that, he doesn't really want to do that. So he's probably going to want to give away his position. Now they're going to commit a bit of utility to it. Sardine says, yeah, fine, I'll take it. But Chimp Hunters, a lot of information, as well as Sandanos still down below. He has a lot of potential to really mess things up. If Chimp Hunters, if they know when and where the push is coming through, it's just simply a case of shooting where you're told, not even aiming by yourself. That's the big thing. Replay, though, realizes something is up.
I think they've already caught Sandanos' scent, and Replay is going to act upon this information, and Sandanos is in for a rude awakening, but he won't, unfortunately, make it out alive. Doesn't even have the chance to react to the entry as it's coming on through on the side of Replay, so man advantage now firmly with Team Triton means that they can play for refrags, but it might not even actually come to that because they hold on to so much map control. Chimp Hunters starting to feel the heat, and eventually they will be forced out of the kitchen. And look at this, Sardine, he's just anting his way up through long desk. Nobody on the side of Chimp Hunters is watching this, and he walks away with the freest kill of his life. Angelo has been shut down, and now it's down to Atlantic and Mo. They're isolated, stranded inside of console and bathroom, holding on for 20 seconds. Mo finds the first, but Replay's got his back. the trade comes out almost instantaneously. Now Atlantic, despite the fact that he gets a kill, everybody now knows where he is. He's isolated inside of console office as Octagon rushes to stick the diffuser. Matems is not too far behind, able to provide coverage as Atlantic is trying to duel things out, but can't land the shots. Narrowly takes the head off of Matems, but instead he's going to receive that exact same treatment by yours truly. Octagon just got fresh off of that diffuser, and Team Trident, they are 2 for 2 on top floor attacks.
Yes, some would say that kill onto replay was the dinner bell. Well, no, I'm going to disagree. It was a call to arms that he's too far away. You get the push down, you get that player in that plant position, they can't deal with it behind the chassis. Player covering them. You can see over towards that meeting lobby, the audio will pass through, you'll know exactly what's going on, and Atlantic realized the pressure of the situation. You really needed to pop off, just get moving forward, and get going. Get on the aggression. That's what we saw at Atlantic Adam trying to do, making short work of replay with that 416C and its new recoil and less ammo, but not enough. We still saw those 2 players being taken away. I feel like a lot of the legwork in that round was done earlier for Triton. They made investments when you think about it. They committed replay, right? Okay, well, this pulse has already killed Majere, but we've got to commit down below. Let's get replay down, deal with the pulse. It's a UMP versus an R4C. Well, when you know when players are, like, both of them know exactly where the other was, but
yeah,
that round, that gunfight has just decided itself.
The one thing that I have to say about that particular gunfight is that it was a really, really ballsy call for Trident to only send replay alone down there. Because if, and hypothetically speaking, if the Pulse had actually won that gunfight, if Bullet was actually able to shut down replay, Team Trident, oh boy, they would not walk away with a round victory in their pockets. It would have been the flip side.
I'm gonna chime in as well on this, and I think it's because they realized, Triton, that if they had that even playing field, essentially. They had that kill coming through from Octagon, but simply put, Majere being taken away, you couldn't have that Nomad, so you had to worry about the Bromas, and obviously that's what they did. They went, they dealt with him, and they only put replay because they realized if they lost that gunfight, like you said, they'd be down an extra player. They wouldn't have that Ash, and because of that, simply put, they'd have to rotate down. If they rotated down, then that meant Chimp Hunters. They could take control of the top floor, Triton, then you kill the Pulse, but you've lost time, you're trying to retake the top floor, and you're going through these choke points that we see time and time again. It's just not it. We're going to be heading to that bottom floor defense, and Triton, I want to see a tighter push. I want to see a tighter execute of this bathroom area. Angelo cannot be allowed to have such a drastic impact like we saw last time. He's going to be prepping those windows, but Atlantic and Angelo are looking to play together on this one. Sardine, though, will find Atlantic. That's going to be a nice kill, taking away the Jaeger. And Sardine, very, very well played. Sandanos, though, will be droned out and pulls back with the Wamai. You've got a Magnet, and you might as well. Angelo, I feel like we're not going to see a huge play like that again. We saw Angelo finding a kill, being traded, then Sandanos is ready to deal with it, but a different allocation of resources. That is all reinforcements, a ton of them being committed to that bathroom. They've realized, try to know this is a problem area. They know they're going to clear it out, and that's why Sandanos has moved to Spiral, realizing you can shut down benches very, very quickly. Majere will call it out. Sandanos will take some damage, but Replay's not going to land the kill.
No, he indeed isn't, but he's on the hunt for even more for the time being. Triton starting to work their way in through Piano, which is surprisingly known as a harpsichord. They're looking to find, or to take the fight directly to Angelo, who manages to get away from Death's Door at the last second. He'll be taken out by Majere instead, and that is bathroom presence now dealt with and firmly in the grasp of Team Trident. They've already started to breach open panels 3 and 2 on the garage as well, and just descending the yellow staircase is Sardine. He picks up Mo as well and is able to shut down Sandanos, leaving Bullet all on his lonesome. We gotta take the one and only phrase out of retirement. The Alda sings. It finds the first kill onto Sardine as well, but he's got 4 more heads to click on as the diffuser is starting to go on down, and the clock is soon to be reset to 45 seconds, and there it goes. He's caught mid-rotate by Octagon, who waltzes their way inside of the office over by the basement, and unfortunately enough for Bullet, that's all the light he will see. Team Trident, a much more thorough, much more convincing round victory, and it all started when they were able to shut down Atlantic through two different surfaces, a barricade as well as a soft wall in the middle of that console desk, that front desk on the top floor, and then it was just an utter collapse. Team Trident felt so comfortable that they could then just, move their way down below, deal with the player inside of bathroom, and that was all she wrote.
I will be honest, the Elder, it sang a sweet song of death, but kind of lost its way
just
after
a single
the first couple
verse
of bars and was taken out very quickly. And honestly, that was a much better round from Triton. They had that breach open very early on. They dealt with these roamers in a fashion that they constantly felt pressure. They never felt in a position where they could take a gunfight. We saw Atlantic being taken down through a wall on that bathroom window. Probably caught mid-sprint. I'm not going to lie, where he was, he's probably trying to drop to those yellow stairs, regroup with Sandanos, and cause a lot of issues. No, Sardine was able to find that kill. And then, what compounded that was the fact that Sandanos wasn't able to get a refrag. Replay just caused so much of a hassle and a headache that Triton just get to keep moving. Sardine, huge effort pushing down those yellow stairs. Well played from you. You're just finding impact frag after impact frag. The breach being open, the player coming down on Spiral. It just kind of felt like everything was falling apart for Chimp Hunters. They're going to be retrying that site against Sandanos, wanting the spawn peak. Gotta pull back quickly because, well, they're going to be wanting to take you down while they know where you are. Drop it down to Visa, you will be with Atlantic again, and the goo mine will fall, but honestly, I'm looking at this, and it feels more, rather than dominance dictating this, and confidence dictating the decision for the spawn peak, it feels like Chimp Hunters are desperately clawing to get some advantage. They've only won one round, and that was from a horrible misplay in the bathroom area, but it wasn't landing just yet. I'm looking at it, and as this round looks to play out, we're seeing a much more subdued Chimp Hunters. Triton, they're droning tighter, they're clearing things out, they're getting information, and have just started playing better consistently each round.
Yeah, they have. The one thing that I actually did want to draw attention to is in that last round, Atlantic, despite the fact that he was playing primarily on the top floor, he was able to actually shoot out roughly 3 to 4 drones. This time around, they don't necessarily have that luxury because they know that there's a looming threat directly behind that drone. The moment that the drone is shot, somebody can be right there to actually act on the information that Team Trident is able to provide, and I believe that's exactly what they've been able to accomplish yet again. Adonis is the first to fall. I believe that was inside of Antechamber, so you no longer have those goo mines at your disposal once again, and Angelo, already on very low HP, is on death's door, but manages to scamper away from it and get back inside of the bathroom to hold down the fort to the best of their abilities and hopefully keep their life in tow for just a bit longer, because last round, Team Trident were able to deal with this much more rapidly, and this is starting to look like it won't be an exception either. Sardine has already been called on through as Octagon is able to shut down Angelo, so once again, Chimp Hunters, they're getting slapped across the face with another sense of deja vu. We find ourselves in the exact same position as last round. It's 5v3. Team Trident, they hold on to both of those top 2 floors, but there is an unknown factor, and that is Atlantic, who is surprisingly on the Visa staircase. He could be the impact player that Chimp Hunters need right now.
Yes, and I think need is definitely that key word, but no, Atlantic gonna pull back to side. 3 players alive. One of them's gonna get down from a player on yellow stairs. Sardine finding 1 kill, finding another, wants to find a 3rd, but it's gonna be Octagon holding the angle. He gets it in Triton. Another flawless round and a flawless attack, and it comes down to these pushes. They're talking about what goes wrong. They're actively fixing their positioning, their utility usage, how they clear the bathroom. That round compared to round 1, worlds apart, simply put. Triton, their 4th round on the board, and, well, in the 6th round of this first split, the final round on their attack, they're looking to go 5-1. And then on the defense, you think their aggression, if they can keep this up, their mechanical ability of players like Octagon and Sardine really stepping up in this game so far. If they can keep on going, well, you can't even see Chimp Hunters picking up a couple of rounds. Like, they've really got to step it up.
I think this right here, what we're seeing from them, especially going down to lobby and press room, it is essentially the last trick that they may have up their sleeve. I wouldn't go so far as to call it a cry for help, because this is something that we haven't seen thus far. It's the first sort of sight of a castle as well as a Warden. I'm not exactly sure what Chimp Hunters are planning, but I really hope that it's able to get themselves a round win, because things have been looking extremely shaky. Team Trident, they already figured out what the pattern was for the vast majority of their defenses, to the point that Chimp Hunters effectively got, well, they got caught lacking and they lost at their own game that they were trying to set up. That's the part that that's the part that doesn't necessarily sit right with me, is the fact that Chimp Hunters, they were being read more often than not, practically just like a book, and they weren't able to actually force out those necessary adaptations on their end to actually, you know, make Trident, you know, sort of go the extra mile to get those round wins. Each and every single Trident attack has been looking better and better after each iteration. Chimp Hunters, uncharted territory. That's what lobby and press room is considered for the time being, and if this particular attack, or this defense I should say, doesn't work out, then that second half on the attack might just be a living nightmare for them.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at. It's like Triton, well, they're confident, they're aggressive, they're winning their gunfights, and they're demonstrating why they're a good team. Sardine is just going to compound my point. Right now, Angelo is trying to put pressure on Majer, but Majer doesn't care. Majer, he's got me rhyming. He doesn't care at all. He's going to be able to take that meat gemma off the wall, if I'm not mistaken, and in doing so, Angelo probably going to want to place him down. That's exactly what he can do, because he does have a couple in pocket, and in doing so, well, you're just delaying the inevitable, it feels like. The castle barricades, that's a nice pick. You're forcing this utility to be taken away, this utility that we've seen trying to deal with this wall utility, with this breach, but replay is going to push through. Majer finds the kill, those Sandanos on the refrag, but Sardine is there. Right now we're seeing Triton really start to ramp up, a two-player advantage, and a minute 35 on the clock. Well, that's going to be Bullet taken away, and Mo all on their own. They've got to start getting a plant down. A 1 versus 4. It's simply put, they drop down, they get the plant, and Mo does his very best. He finds a kill or two, but ultimately the round, it might as well be over. Triton, they have a lot of eyes to be covering the line of sight. Sardine, though, is going to be taken down. There's a player in front of him. She's ready. Octagon goes for the push, but doesn't see him. He's leaning. And suddenly this just went from questionable to winnable. The plan is starting to go down, and Majer is holding a very passive angle, meaning that if Mo was to peek it, that would be the end of the round. Hook, line, and sinker. Uh-oh. Castle barricade gonna absolutely ruin any chance of that push, meaning right now you're gonna have to deal with the player on that balcony. The Nomad air jab comes through. You spot the foot. Don't try and push it, but, well, you gotta play for the frag. You're in a catch-22, and Mo has to push through and go for the diffuser. Another air jab will trigger, but blows him only into cover behind the deployable shield. You've got to push through. That camera will give away the information, and you've got to be on that diffuser right now. Forget about kills. Just hope they don't swing to the Lord. That's not going to happen. Maytems is going to find the frag, and Mo just gets taken down. Triton, a 5-1 split.
Sheer dominance is the only thing that Team Trident have been exhibiting, and Chimp Hunters, they were trying to pull out all the stops. That was essentially their last resort defense in an attempt to find their second round, and they couldn't. That top floor presence was dealt with to the point that Team Trident made it look so easy without even having to lift a finger. Essentially, they just had to sit outside, hold a couple of angles, wait for Chimp Hunters to peek into them, and the moment that they had the entry, the moment that Team Trident had the man advantage, they flipped the switch. Hey, it's go time. We're going to go on the aggressive instead because they won't know what hit them. In comes the swing towards Projector. Angelo's in the dirt. And then you got top floor control. Then you still got Bullet to deal with, who is stuck inside of console office, not even 2 feet away from dropping down the hatch and finding themselves back in press room. Bang, shot from press room. Everything unfolded on the side of the Chimp Hunters, and typically one would say that their defense, to a certain extent, sure, it was complex, it had layers just like an onion, but instead of actually being, instead of actually being a good kind of defense, that kind of onion, it actually made me cry instead. Just a little.
The onion, the layered onion that made you cry. That's beautiful. I like that. That's really romantic, dude.
Thank you.
DM me afterwards. We'll sort out some more poetry. But going back into the game, Triton, they're going to be on the defense, and unsurprisingly, on the bottom floor, they're going to have an aggressive playstyle. Majer's going to be opening up some angles, and the pre-fire will come through from spawn, and you're saying, okay, well, let's hold this area aggressively. Chimp Hunters, their coordination, their refranks just haven't been there realistically in the last couple of rounds. So Triton, they want to capitalize upon that. However, on attack, they have the opportunity to push together. There's not as much roam play. Ooh, that's a factor when you think about it.
Yeah.
Octagon right now can be shut off really, really easily. Majere is going to be playing nearby. He will go for the C4 that everybody tries at least once. You see it once a consulate game now, and I feel like Benelux qualifiers, it's like the only time we've seen it pull off, and really...
That was gorgeous. That was one of the...
But that's not going to happen right now. We're going to see a C4 being used, and Majere's going to want to pull back. I think we're going to see Octagon do exactly that as well. He's saying, well, if we stay here any longer, they're going to try and deal with us. They're going to try and push us out, and because of that, we don't have as much utility to put pressure. So
one thing that I do want to point out is look at the timer. Right? There's 1 minute 55 left, and look at the drone economy on the side of Chimp Hunters. They have got roughly...
Matums is in chat right now. He's
what, in Twitch chat?
Sat in Twitch chat, talking. Huh.
What's he saying? Because I don't... Huh?
There's a little bit of beef of the Triton and Chimp Hunters supporters.
Sure.
But the beef between the teams is more important. Mo's able to find a kill, and Sandanos will capitalize upon it. And now, a player advantage for the Chimp Hunters. Vertical play comes through, and the C4 will go on the other side. Sandanos takes a lot of that brunt, but not enough to kill. That's the big thing. That's an investment for later. Remember, everything kind of compounds, and Death of 1,000 paper cuts, well, taking a look at the HP, that's about 70, 80 paper cuts.
Yeah, give or take, 70 or 80, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Oh, Mo is going to continue to clear out some utility. I believe he actually did spot out one of the electro claws that actually prevented Bullet to properly breach that wall, and now that he has the availability to do so, Selma charges will be tossed on out. Elsewhere, though, Chimp Hunters, they continue to exhibit so much vertical pressure from up above, and look at where Team Trident are positioned. Two of them, they're relegated to playing inside of the office, and Matums is going for the wide swing directly into Atlantic's open arms, and he'll pay a heavy price. Sardine is going to follow in his footsteps most likely, but this time reaps different rewards. Is able to shut down Atlantic over by Archive, so this has become much more winnable as MJR as well as Sardine, they both chime in and they both find one apiece, but Bullet, he's going to clap back, injure Sardine, who can still feed live information regardless as to how blurry his vision is. There's only 10 seconds left. The plan, it has to be stuck, and MJR, he has the angle supposedly, but he didn't thread the needle. He instead allows Bullet to force himself out of Garage, takes just a bit of damage from that pepperoni, but that is a massively missed opportunity. MJR, he can get the revive though. That is an extra gun on the side of Trident that can provide coverage while the other goes for the counter defuse. And how are they going to play this off? They've got to make up their minds fast because there's only 20 seconds left. The plan is starting to being sucked. They're trying to force Bullet to move right into the open arms of Sardine. Closes it off with a triple kill. Brilliantly played by Majir, by Sardine, and they have bagged themselves their 6th round, the most important one thus far. They sit on match point.
Yes, Grace under pressure, I think amplified to the max. Sardine able to find a couple of huge kills as well as that damage onto the sledge, meaning that when he did push down those yellow stairs, well, it was only a formality with that last bullet. At that point, you're looking at Majere saying, okay, right, he's going for the plan, Sardine's down, I've got to stop this plan. That didn't happen. Somehow Bullet was able to plan and just slink away. Very nicely played from him. But the big problem was you didn't finish off Sardine. He was in that little piece of cover behind the pipes. And because of that, well, we saw the revive come through. Sardine, at that point, realizes his job. He holds the angle. He's got the 1.5 on the AUG. You just get Majere on that diffuser. You cover the angle. They can't win. They literally can't win. It's an angle that you saw as soon as Bullet walked into the line of sight. It was the legs, the knees. It wasn't the head. Meaning, Bullet wasn't able to see Sardine, and Sardine just got a free kill. Very nicely played out from Triton. Very, very well executed. And for their second defending round, they're going to be heading to Lobby Crest. And because of this, I think this is quite nice. Now, Atlantic has got the Amaru, and it will still have a key impact because this site is a top floor hold in its core. It's not going to have as much, because you can't go out to site and drop that plant down like you can on a CEO. And I feel like Atlantic taking it, Okay, right. Yeah, Atlantic's got the diffuser and it's 2 and 6 right now. It's ready to push through. Well, honestly, well, there's a reason behind this logic. Think of it as CEO. Obviously, it's not, but if it's CEO, you push through your plan, you get things done. Sardine, though, is about to get something done of his own. Darius, you naughty little boy, able to find a kill onto Sandanos and will take away the sledge. That vertical play on the top floor, that's going to go down to Angelo and Ash. Now, granted, yeah, it's not that big of a deal, but look at the lineup of Triton.
C4s. All cylinder from hell.
No. The primary gadgets as well as C4s.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
How are you going to clear them out now? You've got to commit to the vertical play, or you've got to get the utility. Realistically, you've already been shot in the foot with a shot to the head.
Truer words have never been spoken.
Yeah. They don't sound like they'd be true, but, well, here we are.
Oh. The one sort of idea that I was toying with, and this could have potentially been the silver bullet, and now it actually may be the last resort that Chimp Hunters actually need to win out the round, is Bathroom Hatch is entirely soft, and Atlantic has the perfect operator to basically sort of take down the defense from the inside. If he's able to somehow work his way into the basement, repel himself into Bathroom, catch all of Team Trident off guard, then he could be the difference maker. At the very least, he looks to accomplish that from inside of lobby, or at the very least, gain an angle 2 floors upwards as Mo is actually the first to fall because, hey presto, there's actually somebody inside of Archives, and the kill feed, well, it's a sea of blue, at least temporarily, and now Replay, he thinks that the coast is clear, so he's going to start working his way in. Atlantic already gar repelled in towards lobby in the prime position to get that diffuser down, but Angelo and Bullet, they might not be in the perfect positions to provide support, at least not yet. And down, or up above, I should say, that's Sardine picking up Atlantic. Possession of the diffuser has now been lost, and Angelo and Bullet, they now have to fight effectively from being set back at square one.
Yes, now it is a 1 versus 3 as Matums is able to finish off Angelo. Bullet, yet again, in this clutch scenario, but this time without the plan, without the diffuser, does some damage to Matums, gets the kill, but right behind you, Sardine! He gets Bullet and gets Triton the win. 7-1. This was meant to be the close game, Tudors, but no, Triton, they pushed themselves up right next to Lockdown Ludens.
That is 3 points in the bag for themselves, totaling up to 15. They have managed to overtake Randy Ravens, and temporarily, or they've managed to overtake both Randy Ravens as well as IOM. So, they have technically solidified themselves a temporary spot in the top 4, and the rest, it's down to Randy Ravens and IOM in tomorrow's matches to see if they have what it takes to now strip Team Trident of a spot on 3rd place. But my oh my, that performance from Team Trident, aside from the very first round, which I did already express my criticisms about, they look so much more convincing. They look so much more dominant, to the point that they might be one, if not the only team in this particular, or the only team of the two that properly knows how to play Consulate. That was an exceptional performance on the side of Team Trident, both on the defense as well as on the offense. They showed just exceptional levels of siege throughout that entire best of 1.
Yeah, they did. It was very nicely played, and I feel like there were a lot of scenarios in which, well, with just a little bit of work, we could see Chimp Hunters taking the round win, but
yeah,
it just wasn't meant to be. It feels a lot like the rest of the games we've seen, the narratives of Game 1, and then the narratives of Coconut Crack completely. It's just not having enough at the end. You know, there was a lot of potential. There was a lot of positions in which they could have won. But nothing could just come through. However, like you said, that is going to be it for today. And tomorrow, we will be having 2 games tomorrow. Myself and Jerry will be casting those, and it's going to be a lot of fun. But Tudors, before you head out, is there anything you do want to say? Because I know I like to take my intros. I like to take my outros. But, you know, it's time for a nice little act of charity.
Sure. Yeah, so tomorrow's matches, those are some that you actually don't want to miss. Froggers versus IOM, and Randy Ravens versus Sniper Monkeys. Essentially, IOM and Randy Ravens, they are on a mission to once again reclaim spots 3rd and 4, 3 and 4, that were rightfully taken from them by Team Trident, as you just saw earlier this evening. So those are two matches that you don't necessarily want to miss out. As we stated, the competition is extraordinarily tight, and it continues to get tighter and tighter as after tomorrow is actually concluded. There are only 2 weeks of play left within Season 2 before playoffs are actually, they're just simply upon us, relatively short. But that's going to do it for myself. I'd also like to extend a thank you to both Noah as well as Science for working their magic behind the scenes as they do always. And that's going to do it for my closing thoughts. So, thanks.
Yeah, I guess we're saying goodbye.
Yeah.